communities and business. And I do not support wheelie bins, as this does not encourage responsibility for reducing waste.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Thank you for that. Any questions of clarification? Thank you, Sarah, for your time. Much appreciated.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a lovely day. Okay. Yes. We'll see if okay, we might just wait in 5 minutes' time with Tina's opportunity to submit to us, and then after that it is Will Vicky. So please feel free to chat and relax. It's an informal day, and as people turn up, Sim and I know you for later. If you wanted to go now, you can. Now-ish. Tomorrow. Okay, great. So you're happy just to listen in? All good, thank you. Just checking as people come in. But yes, please relax. Check your emails, do some work, and as people come in, we will. You'll see the clock count down. And if there are any questions at the end, usually there are not, but if there are, councillors will just ask you one or two questions just to clarify. The floor is yours. Make yourself at home.
All right, thank you. Kia ora te whānau. Thank you for having me today. So yeah, I'll just get into it. So this is just a reminder, this is a follow-up on our Waimatatuni Community Recovery Plan, and I'm one of the two locally community coordinators for our community. Today we are raising awareness of the ongoing and untreated erosion. In our recovery plan, we identified high-risk locations, one being the Ruatoria landfill. So this landfill has the potential to enter the Waipiranga, causing pollution and dire health risks to communities. So let's not make headlines for all the wrong reasons. But today we are focusing on the lower catchment of the Waipi River and the lack of treatment plans to control erosion and the bad practices that has caused erosion to worsen. Affecting 1212 Waimatatini Road, adjacent to the Waipi River and Maungatakoa Creek. All practices should have a policy.
If you can just click over once, usually once we give it a kickstart, then the clicker goes. Thank you.
Cool. All practices upriver should have a policy in place to ensure and aim for protection of the downstream catchment and support local communities. If erosion remains untreated, in key areas, social, mental and financial stress will continue to worsen.
You'll have to click here though. Oh, there we go, thank you.
Ahikoko B5B1, lower catchment of the Waipi River, severe erosion and sediment deposits, loss of land, infrastructure, loss of income. We removed 1,400 tonnes of silt off our 3 hectare paddock, which used to be an 8 hectare paddock.
Can you click here though? Thank you.
Waipi Riverbed, this is at the bottom of our farm, now level with the whenua and covered in sedimentation. Every land block adjacent to the Waipi River is continually affected by erosion. Landowners would like to build innovative and profitable businesses, but how can this be achieved when bad practices are allowed to continue, causing our land to erode during any weather event, not just cyclones? Both sides of the Waipi River need bank protection work, not just one side. Finding the right solution. Planting native trees in and on hill country is a priority to slow erosion down. However, this still takes decades before our valley sees any improvement. This is not the solution for us, for our community, living on and in the lower catchment of the Waipi River. Right now, any type of tree is not going to stop erosion. Are we paying for rates? Are we paying rates for land that no longer exists? And for how long has this continued? What are landowners' rights to the riverbed where our land once stood? The memorandum signed on the 23rd of the 4th, 2014. What is happening with this partnership? What has been achieved in the last 10 years? Sorry, I've got it, yeah. And what has been achieved in the last 10 years? And monitor farms are an integrated solution and cost saver. Will you consider starting a treatment plan by using this method? Build first to protect Budgetary Township, 3rd February 2011. He spearheaded this project and it was with valuable results to protect the Budgetary Township. So if you guys haven't read it, I encourage you to have a read.
Whenever we drive past there, we always talk about Bill's losses. So
Yeah.
He's well known for his losses going in there.
Yeah, cool. So our community identified dolos as a solution and treatment plan for erosion. We would like to see our rates invested into our community, not into the Gisborne water supply. Bank protection work, when no dolos work, it redirects the water flow, controls erosion and captures the sediment. Protects homes that need immediate support. And the Waipa River has the highest suspended sediment yield of any river in New Zealand.
Thank you there.
Oh, can we go back?
One back, thanks.
Thank you.
One back, thanks Heather.
Bank protection work and the benefits. So future generations will benefit from a healthy environment. Future generations plan to build. There are sustainable land use practices. It's economic profitability. We have the opportunity to work alongside landowners, employ locals to do the groundwork, protect valuable land that still exists, and Māori would not be Māori without the whenua. Ko te whenua, ko te whenua.
Kia ora, thank you. Question from Councillor Gregory.
I just wanted to go back to your bank practices that you referred to. Will you do bank protection work on the other side? Or what do you refer to?
It's a number of things, so yeah, both sides of the river or the catchment need to be protected, because what happens is the water bounces off that protected side and comes back and erodes the other side. The other part is forestry. There's quarries. You know, what are they doing with the fines? There's. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Either let me know when Will is online. So councillors, next, so it's a little break for 10-15 minutes. Then we will do Mr. Dickey. But that's online, Heather?
Yeah.
Yes, so either will let us know once they log on, and we will take it from there. Here we go. Okay, councillors, can I get your attention back? Good morning, Will. It is the head start speaking. How are you?
Yeah, good morning. Thanks, Kim. I'm very good, thank you, councillors. Apologies, sorry, had to rush to jump in here, but I'm good, thank you. How are you guys?
Thank you. Hey, no worries at all. We are running a little bit early, so if you are ready, you can get yourself ready, and we've got about 5 minutes. Thank you for your written submissions as well. It's taken as read. Councillors have read that. So this 5 minutes is just to highlight the bits that you want to leave with us. So without further ado, Will, the floor is yours. We can clearly hear you.
Thank you. So I'm just trying to change that. Yes, yes, perfect. Good morning, councillors. It's very nice that you're ahead of schedule and under budget. So hopefully this can be reflected in the long-term, the 3-year plan that we're working on. My name's Will Dickey from Roger Dickey New Zealand Limited. We're a forestry investment management company, New Zealand based, with some forestry assets in the Gisborne District Council. We represent just under 9,000 hectares of production forestry in Gisborne across 25 properties. And my comment today would really just be that from our forest owners is that we're looking for a fair and equitable allocation of rates to our forest owners. So we have a number of forests which are obviously planted, or majority of our forests are planted prior to 2019. So these forests don't receive any income until harvesting occurs at approximately age 28. And the rates movements have been relatively significant for these forest owners. So we have to keep coming back to them each year, requesting, I guess, additional cost increases to cover ongoing rates. And I think from our Gisborne forest, and I'm pretty sure I mentioned this in our letter, that our rates since 2019, we've seen a 61% increase from $7,400 to a proposed $12,139 on average per property. And that's compared, to our Hawke's Bay forest, which have a largely similar composition and property size and numbers, where our rates currently are $4,583 on average, and under their new proposal are forecasting to increase to $5,622 per property on average, compared to the Gisborne District Council's proposal of $12,139. So I guess really my point here is that the forestry sector as a large contributor through the Gisborne District, through the Gisborne Port and the Eastland Wood Council. So we pay a disproportionately high fee to the port for the movement of our logs, which helps fund activities through the District Council. We're targeted by a heavy road user increase of 12.5 times for forestry, for truck forestry movement, versus pastoral farming 1.5 times, when historically or statistically it's known that our truck movements, while they are aggregated, I guess, through a harvest period, where roughly the same truck movements as a hectare of land for sheep and beef farming over the same 30-year cycle, and half that of dairy land. So that there's lots of aggregation, I guess, of cost targeted fairly heavily at forestry, and it's starting to significantly impact the viability of our forest operations. So while we agree that the rates need to increase, we want to make sure that they're fairly apportioned to all the users. I guess I'm just happy to ask any questions or answer any questions.
Thank you very much for that, Will. You're very clear. We've got one question here from Councillor Thompson, and then one last one from Councillor Robinson.
Yeah, hi Will, thanks for your submission. You mentioned radiator pine contributes to 1/3 of woody debris, according to your studies, significantly different to the 80% studies I've seen. Can you tell me what studies these are?
Yeah, so this was this was carried out through the. I'll be able to find this, councillor, and send the study. So we did it through the Hawke's Bay Regional. The Hawke's Bay Forest Growers. The Hawke's Bay Forest Owners Association carried out a study that identified that much, and I understand that there was some work done by a company in Gisborne that identified wood on the beach and worked out how much of it was merchantable, was timber from production forestry, and that was the figure we were told. But I could find that report and circulate it.
Yes, please.
Thank you for that. That will be appreciated. You can just send it through to Heather, and she will distribute that to councillors. Councillor Robinson.
Hey, Will. In your thank you for your submissions. You spoke about the rates average increase per property from 7,500 to 12,000 over a 5-year period. You manage just under 9,000 hectares of production forestry in the Gisborne region. Did you work out how much the proposed rates increase is per hectare of the spread over the 9,000 hectares you manage?
No, sorry, councillor. I was working on that in the background with some spreadsheets, but we didn't quite get it finished. And they sent me a post-it note which only has the headline number.
All right, thanks, Will.
Councillor Cranston.
Yeah.
Thanks, Will.
We with it might not be quite related to how the rates are working, but we have 3,000. This is across the east coast of New Zealand. We have 3,000 retail, so mum and dad investors, and they obviously, with the impacts of Cyclone Hale and Gabrielle, come to us to really understand their social license to operate and what's happened in their forest. So we've answered a lot of kind of questions and queries to our investors around that, and we can say for our 130 properties we represent that we had 2 forests where woody debris mobilised across the boundary. One was in the Esk, just north of the Esk Valley, where we went through a neighbour's fence onto a flat piece of land, and we had an area the size of a tennis court came through the fence. We quickly removed that, fixed the fence, and there was no factor. And the second area was in the Eskdale Valley in one of our forests where we did have a mid-slope failure, and it went down across the train tracks and has likely ended up in the river. And that area was approximately 1 hectare. The slip was approximately 1 hectare in size. So we just want it to be, every sector, I think, has people that perhaps there's good and bad operators, and it's unfair that some forestry companies, because we like to think that we do everything to the highest standard and have a good working relationship with all our councils, we think it's unfair that we should be targeted by bad operators, on behalf of bad operators or people that let the sector down. In the Gisborne region, we had no property that had any debris mobilised across the boundary.
Thank you for that. Last question. Have you already asked a question?
No, he came back in. I didn't know that.
Okay, Councillor Cranston and then Councillor Gregory.
Yeah, thanks, Will. You mentioned the challenge of 28 years before there's any income coming in. What are your thoughts of us enabling cost recovery through wood weight at port?
Yes, well, user pays is good because you've got money to pay for it versus, mum and dad's going to their pocket to fund ongoing cost. My caveat would be that the Eastland port is the most expensive port, I think, almost in the Southern Hemisphere. So I guess it's just using funds efficiently.
Me? Yes. Thank you. I just wanted to double check when you are comparing rates, you compare our Gisborne rates, which includes the regional aspect of it, the Hawke's Bay, and we
Yes.
give that figure of 4,500 to going up to 5,600. Is that for all your rates or just for rates from your regional council?
That's the Hawke's Bay District Council and the Hastings Regional Council. Those 2 rates are combined.
That's just for Hastings, not Napier and Wairoa.
It excludes. I guess it excludes the Wairoa. That number excludes the Wairoa rates and excludes the Wairoa-based forest, which also then have the regional council rate included with that. So it's wherever the Hawke's Bay District, apologies if I'm saying this wrong, it's the Hawke's Bay District, wherever that boundary starts south.
Yeah, okay, thank
and
you.
includes the Hawke's Bay Regional Council and District Council rates.
Well, thank you so much for your time and the time you've taken to write several submissions to us, and also today sharing with us just the highlights that you wanted to highlight with us. And again, we just ask that you email the information that the Councillor Thompson requested through to Heather, and then she will make sure all councillors see that. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak, and always welcome a phone call if there's any kind of forestry related questions, or you want to talk to us. As I said, we represent lots of retail or mum and dad investors, mainly retired with lots of opinions. So well versed.
Thank you for that. Have a lovely day.
Good.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. Enjoy your day. Thank you.
Okay, councillors, I'm just going to one more time ask people to turn their cell phones down. I've heard several dings.
Turned down, but it's.
No, it's making noises, so kill it off.
I've got it turned down. I don't know what's going on.
Possessed.
Possessed. Councillors, what we have now is about a half an hour break. Barbara Sill to join us here today. Barbara, please come and take a seat here. It's nice and relaxed. We are here to listen to what you have to say to us. Okay, you will see a clock ticking down at the back. But at the end of the day, if you with us and want to share, and there might be a few questions at the end, there might not be. The questions are just for clarification. There's no debating happening today or questioning. People will only ask questions if they want to clarify something. So please relax. We are here to listen to you. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm Barbara Searle, and I have been living in the city CBD for the last 9 years. And on page 32 of the 3-year plan, we read over the next year, we'll work with our economic Tarafiti to take a closer look at what needs to be done to revitalise our city's central business district, CBD. Later, we will ask you what you would like to see improved in the CBD to make it an even better place to live, work and play. Well, we now live in Disraeli Street in Palm Gardens, and we're in the suburb of the CBD, which goes from Gladstone Road to Roebuck Road. It's all part of it. So it's definitely been in need of revitalisation for many years. Council and Tarafiti have been putting this situation in the too hard basket for too long. There are small pockets of unused, neglected land within the CBD just begging to be lovingly cared for. And my first part is to go at the end of Peel Streets and Bright Streets down towards the Waikanae Creek. There are two very neglected areas there, just fenced off and nothing done with them. Now, I can't think why Trust Tarafiti has gone and messed up Grey Street, which is so many people. Thank you. I can't see why going to Bright Street end and cleaning up that end of it, putting in a car park, it's way safer than having children still getting out of cars into Grey Street, where vehicles may be going at 40 k's, but kids just rush out. So why has not the Bright Street end and even the Peel Street end, which have plenty of room to be cleaned up, tidied up and used? Then you can have also the cycle and walkway going from Grey Street right along the creek and continue on to, Custom House Street, Reeds Quay. The money from Grey Street could easily be put onto that. It's just, I can't understand why not. And I wouldn't mind knowing why not as well. So that's one of the real big things that, it's just crazy. Grey Street, commercial, tourist and local stay on the beach. The other night I had to go and wait for the 7 o'clock bus from Rotorua. I had to park in Kahutia Street, there weren't enough car parks there, on my own, and walk and stand in Grey Street waiting to see when the bus was coming. I mean, that's not really what an older person should be doing. And on to the botanical gardens, which is my pet issue. They've been created around the world for someone to go and sit and watch fountains going, a refreshing place, a peaceful place, to sit on chairs with backs on them so that us older people can relax and sit back. We can't spend too long sitting up straight. And the pond, which I've been on to for several years, is a dead pond. There is some things being put in to try and clean up the water, but it is too little, too late, and the pond needs to be cleaned out completely, fresh water put in. The water lilies, they're a noxious plant, to be honest, and they're on the pest plant list, national pest plant list. There's 3 varieties of them. They need to be taken out. There's mud in the bottom of the pond, which is just, it's revolting and it's toxic, to be honest. I did have a sample of the small pond taken, and that was way above levels that it shouldn't be around there. Children are running around playing in the ponds. What they want to get in with the ducks and play, but it's too toxic. It's just dangerous for them. I would like to see the ponds fenced off straight away because they're dead anyway. And fountains, it needs about 3 fountains to be put into that large pond to really keep it clear. Anyway, I get angry when I think about it, to be honest. I also think that there's a lot more seating needs to go on. The paths are in a terrible state. People with walkers certainly couldn't go there easily. And I just think that it needs more gardeners. It needs a person who really, or people, at least 2 people, fully employed with the gardens, who enjoy horticulture, who enjoy arbour care. You don't have to be qualified, you don't have to go to university to learn about it, you just need to have a heart that says, this tree needs that branch cut off, and get a chainsaw. You don't need to have consultations and wasted money. The cycleway, continuing on Tarahira River, there's going to put in, or talk about wanting to put in a cycle walkway from Derby Street to the Botanical Garden. And that's the only mention of botanical gardens in the 3-year plan. Now, why would you spend $3.3 million to put that in when Aberdeen Road has just been resurfaced, perfectly safe for cyclists? The footpaths are perfectly safe for walking. So there's your cycle walkway to the Botanical Gardens. That $3.3 million can be put in easy to pay for 2 people to be fully employed in the Botanical Gardens to look after it. It is honestly a mess. I mean, when my husband and I sold our place in the country, one of the people that came, she said, I don't want to buy Botanical Gardens, I just want to buy a small property. So it doesn't take qualification to do things like that. The other is the river carer. You walk along the walkways from the cut right around, and there's rubbish in the river. I mean, our visitors look at this rubbish, and it smells most of the time. There's branches in there, there's road cones in there, there is just all sorts of bits and pieces and other people's rubbish. I'd like to see what I call a river carer employed by Rivers or whoever, just to go along there and clean it out, so visitors can see a nice clean city. The other thing is the Gladstone Road, the palm trees. They are dropping the seeds and the fibre from there. I mean, I've heard people say they've rolled their ankles on it, fallen over because it's so bad, and they've hurt themselves. Why haven't the trees been looked after? You plant a tree and you care for it. It's why you plant a tree, because you like it. You don't want to just leave it neglected. Oh, I knew I'd be going on too long.
That's all good.
It's just very
You
emotional.
just wrap up for us, that would be lovely.
So that's what I would like to do, and I've got on the bottom here is the noxious plants. The morning glory, blackberries, and just a few of the noxious plants that are on the pest plant list. Around the bridges, you look at Lytton Road Bridge, it's got morning glory climbing over. down, if you're going up to the hospital, down to the right, it's got all these vines that are noxious vines growing on it. It needs someone to clear those. Also, you've got the Grey Street, Nelson Road, Roebuck Road and Botanical Garden bridges, but their approaches are just stuffed with trees or shrubs or weeds. You know, it needs that cleaning up. So I've got also, there are 80 gardens throughout the Gisborne district with only 4 gardeners to attend them all. Our botanical gardens deserve more respect than that. And we can't keep blaming Gabriel COVID. It needs people employed to do it. 3.3 million for the cycleway from Derby Street to the botanical gardens. Surely that can employ a couple of people for over 3 years, you know, to do some work there. So I've got it written down, and the other, on the bottom, I've got, I just heard yesterday from the Horticultural Society, and there is a spelling mistake down that bottom part. She's coming in September we're celebrating 100 years. I mean, she's the editor of the New Zealand Gardener. Can you imagine someone of that person coming and giving a report on our botanical gardens, the dead ponds, the streets that are, the palms are uncared for? Yeah, I would like to see that the council really employ more people. Don't talk about it, just do it.
Thank you for that. Griffin, we can go back before we deliberate and take a look and present it out. Thank you very much for taking the time to come and talk to us, Barbara. Much appreciated.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Barbara, question. Barbara, thank you for this. Have you ever done an RFS, a request for service, for any of the issues that you're trying to raise here?
No, I have spoken to, well, I've spoken to Rhett, I've spoken to other people concerning gardens, the gardens, quite a bit, yes. A request for service, I thought this is too broad to just...
Yeah.
Thank you, Barbara. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Barbara.
Okay, councillors, Catherine. We go to the submission for Linda Francis. Catherine is presenting on behalf of Linda. So that's submitter ID 139. Good morning, Catherine. How are you? You've submitted to us before, so you know the process. Please make yourself at home. Relax, there's a clock. And there might be questions at the end, there might not be questions, but please, the floor is yours.
Can I just say in regards to questions, because this is Linda Francis' submission, I won't be able to answer any questions.
That's all good.
But what you would appreciate is if you do have any questions, if you're happy to refer them to me, I can pass them on to her.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. So shall I start? Okay. Following on my submission, I am most concerned that Gisborne District Council and councillors are not paying sufficient attention to the growing recession we find ourselves in. The Beryl report of October 2023 states that economic growth and low unemployment will be sacrificed due to the high interest rates and high inflation. On 5th of May 2024, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand put the OCR, official cash rate, at 5.5%. Cost of living had gone up by 7% in the 12 months to January 2024. Unemployment rate in Gisborne has risen to 7.2%, whereas nationally it is 4.3% in the March 2024 quarter, and that's from Statistics New Zealand. Underutilisation rate has risen to 11.2%. Employment rate fell to 68.4%. People are losing their jobs because government is reducing staff. Corporations are reducing staff, and so are private employers. So instead of saying GDC has done everything possible to keep costs down, maybe they should follow the lead set by government and make a number of people redundant, especially the high-income earners. Maybe require each department to cut their predicted spend for 2024-25 by 11%,
times are really tough. As you know, Gisborne is a very low socio-economic area, and in the average earnings, statistics 23, are only 24,000, compared with a national average of 28,000. More than 12% of Gisborne people are pensioners, and the consumer price index to which the pension is attached showed only a 4.7 increase to December 23. The items we normally buy in a month seem to have gone up a lot, more than 4.7%. Currently, home contents insurance is going up by over 30%, car insurance by over 10%, rents and mortgages are going up, and now GGC want to put rates up by 30% over 3 years, starting with 11.4%. Get real. Many ratepayers are cutting expenses to the bare minimum, living on a no-frills budget and using savings to get by. Many people will not be able to pay their rates, and a great deal of pain will be caused in the community. The Mayor said in the Audit and Risk meeting of 14th of March that as a council we will have to cut our cloth for the next 3 years. Time to cut expenses back to basics, like our roads, bridges, sewers, water supply and street lighting. Cut out all the frills, like more walkways and cycle lanes. Nice to have, but not vitally necessary to the city as a functioning sewage system and a reliable water supply are. As for the Grey Street fiasco, pavements are for people, roads are for vehicles. Stop spending our precious dollars on minor stuff when all our roads have potholes. Your ratepayers are screaming out for potholes to be fixed and bridges to be reopened. That seems to fall on deaf ears. Yet crossings can be painted over in 24 hours. What are the priorities? Please make the current antiquated and totally inadequate sewage system your top priority before you allow any more infill housing. There have been 196 new build consents issued in the year to February 24. But during that time, the overflowing sewage system was not upgraded. Next time we have heavy rain in a few days, no doubt toilets will overflow in people's homes. School playing fields will be covered in sewage. The sluice gates will be opened onto the river again, stopping all recreation, sport and fishing. The health and safety of Gisborne people should be a very high priority, but obviously not. Upgrading the sewage system has been in the too hard basket for many successive councils. It seems insane to keep building infill housing without improving the sewage system first. In the booklet, Healing Our Region for Our Future, your budget for a wastewater treatment plant for 3 years is 0.5 mil. Yet your budget for walking and cycling is 3.3 mil. Where are your priorities? Also, in your booklet, I can find no dollar figure for spent on street lights, cameras, and cell phone towers. The city is bristling with them. What is the value of spend on these, and why are so many lights in the city not working? Again, in your booklet, I did not find any mention of increasing and securing the water supply in the city. Once again, it is insane to keep building infill housing when our city is regularly subjected to water restrictions. The expected drought forecast did not occur this summer. Last summer it rained or was overcast. Previously, for many years, we have been subjected to handheld hoses for watering our gardens, or often a complete ban for watering gardens. May I suggest GDC makes no charge for permits to install water tanks for existing homes and makes a rule that all future developments have to have some small individual water tanks on their property. Please, councillors, do not just rubber stamp this proposed rates increase. Send it back to council for some major cuts in spending and an even more major review of their priority spending. Thank you. Sorry. Did you need a copy of this?
That would be lovely. If that can just be emailed to Heather, and she will make sure everyone.
Okay.
Thank you for your time. Dot. As I welcome Dot McCulloch to talk to us. Dot, you've spoken to us several times before. So I do not have to give you the 101. No Makaraka Cemetery today, other stuff. Thank you for taking the time. So Doc, we've got a clock at the back there, just a 5-minute clock to give you an indication.
Okay.
Please make yourself at home. We are all ears. Oh, all good. Just whatever works for you.
Good.
Good.
Good morning, councillors. Good morning. Many of you wondered what the yellow dots that are on the tiles in the CBD are about. They look like somebody spoke. That's not so. The tiles in the CBD, when they were bought for doing the footpaths, etc., they were seconds, and they've been there since just before the year 2000. Tiling was done for the year 2000. A lot of them have moved in their site, and they're tripping people up. It's necessitating, in a lot of cases, hospitalisation. The people were sent out to put dots on the ones that needed resiting or reseating or need replacing because they're broken. Nothing's been done. I myself have had a broken kneecap, not there, thankfully, but I was speaking to a lady the other day, and her mother had her kneecap absolutely shattered, and she's now got an artificial kneecap. And that's the sort of thing that's happening a lot in our CBD area, and it's no good asking the hospital for records of how many, because they wouldn't keep that type of record, and also not every fall necessitates going to a hospital. But I need some funding directed to there, and that funding for that stupid thing down Grey Street, which is totally unnecessary, that's for people's safety. This is more important for people's safety. Thank you. Now, the other point I want to bring up is potholes. My brother is in roading, or was in roading, and he was in charge of the Custom House Street corner when they redid that, and that's got 14 layers of seal in it. He's retired now. I asked him what's the correct procedure for fixing potholes, and I've already given the Mayor's office a copy, and Colin Elder has got a copy. And they're either not teaching them properly at Polytech, or the people that employ me say, oh, you don't do it like that, you do it like this. For example, the entrance on the roadside into Mitre 10, it looks like a big daisy flower. It's all little round blobs where they've filled just the hole, nothing else. You take away the compromised seal, you square it out, and you take it bigger than the area, and you square it out, and you take all the junk out, and you put emulsion in, and then you put the seal in, and you treat it like the road then. With these filling little bits, an indication that more potholes have formed around that place, and therefore it's compromised, and it's like a case of patchwork. And thank you for that. I've done bad, have I?
You have done very well. Thank you, Dot. Thank you. Next, I'm going to welcome Barbara. Welcome, Barbara.
Submissions, one person says this.
Barbara, how are you? I do not have to give you the 101, Barbara. You've been in this seat many times before. We've kept it hot for you, warm for you today. So please make yourself at home.
Thank you.
We've got a clock counting down the 5 minutes.
Brilliant, thank you.
So, thank you.
First, I'd like to just say what I know to everybody, especially the new councillors who are not here. It's good to have so many in my room.
There we go.
This is not in my submission, but it's very important for me to say this. And this is the request for service piece of time, like the phone and the trustees. They do a splendid job, and I know it's difficult for them. And I use request for service a lot. The only problem is sometimes I request something and nothing happens. If it's a big issue, I will make a deal about it. Like Whitman Street, which was first left around the street sign was missing. It took several phone calls, and it was 12 months before the sign was up. And, you know, that's a community issue. But it took 12 months, but I was determined that we get the street sign. I don't think it should be like that. There's a failure of the, down to the teams who are actually supposed to be doing the work. And I do ring the customer service a lot. Right, now when I come to really the issue, you would have seen you know, the last part where I mentioned that I don't have any documents. And it was on the back here in the back page of this book, what else we're consulting on. I have a big issue with this, in that there is no information of where is what consult on. I think this is one of those things that you go through this process, you say about that, and then you can cover yourself because you've had it released in public. But you can't consult on something if you don't know how to access the information. And this brings me back to the fact that I'm quite cynical about, and I've learned over the years, it makes me suspicious. Can I trust you or not? And it relates back when my late husband and I were living at the beach end of Stanley Road. We had a bit of land in a nice home, 4 paddocks, which we used to close up for hay, and go up to the farm at Motu. And then all of a sudden we get a letter from the city council that they're going to take the land by proclamation. So we had to sell. There was no choice. So we went through the procedure. The city council offered us a pittance, of course. So we had to, and they generated the land court. Now here we are, 2 young people in their early 20s, two small preschool children, and we were probably going to sell one day, but we weren't ready to. And it gives you a bad feeling that you go to have to maintain it in your life, have to go to court, never done that before. So the land court met, and the first thing that was shown were photographs of the land that we owned prior to us owning it, and it was all rough sand dunes and a mess. Whereas we'd done it very hard and tidied it all up, and it was idyllic. And, you know, we just thought, and I just thought, how can these important people who were expected to trust and respect, like the city engineer and other staff members, and they can do that to us, lie. Anyway, justice did prevail. The 3 judges of the land court came down to our property, and it was a beautiful afternoon. The football was looking after us, and the ducks were coming up from the Waikanae Creek, and the hens were getting themselves organised for the night. And yes, that's fine. Anyway, the result was the court, we won our case because the judgment was that the council devalued the land because it had a house on it. It was industrial land, it had a house on it, and it devalued the house because it was an industrial land. And I have to say, and they did say you can't have it both ways, but to me, it appears little has changed. You know, there's so many areas that are looked at like that, and this has motivated me to come and to express my views about why I question things. So that's my background.
Thank you, Barbara. Look at you looking at that clock.
Barbara.
Thank you so much for coming to talk to us.
Well, I think you need to know how it is like for, I mean, I'm not unique. There are a lot of people are sceptical of what's going on.
We all read Gisborne Herald, such as it is.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Take care. Early. Helena, do you want to wait till 11 or are you ready to go now? All good. Councillors, I welcome Helena Nickerson. That is submitter number 24. Welcome to the Gisborne District. And have you made a submission with us before?
No, I think the survey.
Oh, okay. How are you? Welcome. So you have, please make yourself at home.
Is it okay if I stand?
Absolutely. Please make yourself at home. Helena, there's a 5 minute clock over there. We have, so councillors have your submission in front of them, but the floor is yours just to share your thoughts.
I'm Helena Nickerson. I'm an educator. I'm making the submission in response to the question in the council's 3-year plan brochure, which asks the question, have we got it right? Tell us if our focus and priorities are right. Now the short answer there is yes and no. So I'm making this submission because for me there appears to be incongruence or a mismatch between what the council wants our city to look like and what the people want the city to look like. The council does get some things right. What comes to mind for me is that Oneroa walkway that stretched between Waitanai Beach and Midway Beach. It is a beautiful thing. And what makes it beautiful is that it brings together people of all demographics in this region, and also people of all abilities. It's a cycleway, it's a walkway. It's designed for runners to use, cyclists, wheelchairs, people, old people with their Zimmer frames, and even skateboards and little kids on their tricycles. Now, it's beautiful because it represents the stories of the people of this region. And it's seen in the artwork, it's seen in the timber, it's seen in the blocks that we have. And it really unites us as residents of the city. And you can see it in people's attitudes. People enjoy and respect it. I've never seen any graffiti on it. I've never seen the destruction of it. People are passionate about it. In fact, one day, I use it a lot. One day when I was on that walkway, I saw a man on his knees, and I wondered what he was doing. No, he wasn't praying. He was actually on his knees scraping a blob of chewing gum off the walkway, and that really touched me. But then I contrast that with the rainbow crossing, the LGBT rainbow crossing that the council has put down in the center of our CBD. Now that goes against the grain of people for a variety of reasons. Unlike that Oneroa walkway, this one represents a small demographic of the city. And it doesn't represent the majority of us. And we wonder why the council chooses to memorialize one such small minority. While there are so many, I can think of so many groups. If we want to memorialize people, there are so many groups in the city that provide valuable service that we could honor. I think of the super grands,
those people who stand in for the kids whose parents can't provide for them or won't provide for them, our little kids that go and do surf life saving to help others. There are those people who are volunteers for our mental health services, looking after our community. And it's no wonder that we had the activities that we've seen play out on that walkway. And it is not an issue of hate. It's an issue of people feeling not heard, not listened to, and feeling excluded from it. There's so much need in our city. We look at the state of our roads. You know, when you travel around the roads in Gisborne, it's like you're navigating on a surfboard or trampoline or something. We don't need more cycleways as a priority. In fact, the roads are so bad that the cyclists have difficulty actually getting to the cycleways, having to navigate these roads. On 2 occasions, I was nearly wiped out on the road here because of a vehicle coming towards me. Obviously, the driver spotting the pothole and swerved across the center line to avoid it, and I had to go onto the shoulder of the road. If there was a kid there, we can imagine what could have happened. And then we look at where the council is now interfering in Grey Street. Instead of fixing what is broken and maintaining what needs to be maintained, we do not have money for pet projects. I understand the council is in debt to the tune of $143 million, and if the council's in debt, we are in debt, and we are struggling. So my submission to the council is short and clear. I urge the council, if I may, to go back to the drawing board and review your plans to suit the needs of the residents and ensure that, that your decisions are commercially and fiscally sound. In closing, I want to leave you with a quote by one of my favorite authors, Thomas Sowell. He is an economist, he's a social psychologist, he's also a lecturer at one of the top universities in the state. And he said, much of the history of the Western world over the past 3 decades has involved replacing what worked with what sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, let's take a look at our time. It's 5 minutes to. Barbara. Good morning. So Barbara, you've listened to my spiel several times this morning about the pot running and please make yourself at home. Yes. So, councillors, it is submitter ID 27, Barbara Calendar. Please make yourself at home, Barbara.
Thank you. I'm 70 and I've lived here most of my life. My major concerns for this area is for my children and my grandchildren. It says in the back of your glossy booklet, have you got it right? Tell us if our focus on priorities are right. I am here to tell you no. No, you have not got it right. In fact, there is no way GDC should be pursuing an increase, let alone an increase of 30% over 3 years. High rates, as you know, must be causing awful hardship in our community. You constantly write in your booklet about the government paying for this, paying for that. For example, on page 7, we've received government funding of $204 million. As if somehow the government funding is coming from some unknown source, like a fairy godmother. But it does not. It comes from the same pocket as us ratepayers. It comes from all of us working hard, Kiwis working hard, who are constantly forking out to our councils and our past government for their financial mismanagement, their incompetency, and increasing a huge financial burden on all its citizens. On page 16, you say debt is set to peak at 248 million over the next 6 years. This is total madness. Whether as a ratepayer or a taxpayer, the debt that my children and my grandchildren will inherit is an absolute disgrace. It's shameful, it's unacceptable, and it's totally frightening. Our tawataki debt of 143 million and climbing has created enormous hardship. A 30% hike over 3 years is outrageous. I am not here to support an increase. There needs to be a decrease in our debt, which will reduce our crippling servicing fee. On page 11, building back our damaged roading network. For years, your community has been shouting out loud, fix the potholes. However, you seem to find exorbitant amounts of our rates to dig up our roads around town and build high mounds for pedestrian. I don't know if anybody has stood next to in Grace Street just the other day I was there. And for the life of me, I just saw all our rates being poured into this chaos. There were cars coming around the roundabout, going down Grace Street towards the beach, jamming on their brakes because the car parks have been moved close to the centre of the road. And I thought, somebody's going to plough into somebody. On page 14 of your glossy booklet, you say there is no frill focusing on delivering our core issues. You go on to say, well, we have done this very carefully, managing debt and spending and so on. However, recently the council spent our money on drag queens, speaking in our library, and a rainbow crossing. And as my gay friend said, it just caused division and tension within our community. Have you forgotten that the ratepayers paid for $1 million toilet down by the wharf? Was there no lessons learned? Page 10, you said, we do is in line with our vision of healthy water. This is once again incorrect. The ratepayers are paying you to put fluoride in our water supply. We want a hazardous waste byproduct from fertiliser factories in our water. Now there's a savings for you. Stop putting fluoride in our water. Stop poisoning us. Now on page 10 you say healthy land, healthy people and healthy future. Another poison you use extensively is glyphosate, which is in Roundup. I am an example of that. I have spent many hours using the cycling walking track of Forestry. I've talked to people about this. Last Christmas, my kidney shut down and several other major health issues occurred. Over several weeks, over several months, having numerous blood tests, seen specialists, seen a renal specialist, I was finally told to have high levels of glyphosate. This is stored in your bones and spleen. I don't feel comfortable about talking about my personal shit and stuff I'm dealing with, but I've got to let you know what you're doing to us. This was a huge shock. I have to keep well away from this poison, and that will be no easy task. God knows how many people in this area are suffering from all sorts of health issues because of this glyphosate exposure. And of course it also causes cancer. Even Japan will not import our honey because they found glyphosate in it. Obviously a country a lot more onto it than us. On page 32, you say 3 million of city centre revitalisation. Walking and cycling, 3.3 million. There is at least 6 million that you can save to put much towards infrastructure. Councillors, you've got to stop this 30% increase in our rates. Please focus on getting the basics right. Stop wasting our hard-earned money and increasing our financial burden on our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Can I just see you walk in, Paul? We are running early if you are ready. But we can also, you ready? Are you waiting, are you ready or are you waiting for more people? No, I'm ready. Good, well then, welcome. So Paul, I'll just give you the quick rundown. Some of the people have listened to this several times before. Please take a seat, lovely to see you. Welcome, good to see you again. Seat. You will have approximately 5 minutes. There's a clock ticking down there. Councillors are here to listen. Today is not a debate or nothing, so we are all ears. Thank you. So councillors, that is submitter 5051. You can sit or stand, whatever's for you. Yep.
I first like to thank everyone for giving me an opportunity, and I'm here on behalf of several people in Marion Drive and Graham Road who got flooded during Gabriel. I'll just read these notes out if that's okay. You know, as our properties were affected by the flooding, and there's no doubt that one of the major contributors to the flooding was the bridges, being William Petty Bridge and Town Bridge, were not cleared of debris during the event as debris built up. We believe if the debris on the bridges was removed as it became lodged, this would have helped prevent the damage that took place, you know, because of Gabriel, and also in the previous events. If bridges were kept clear, we wouldn't have had the flooding that we've had in the past. We just want to know if the council have any plan in place to keep the bridges clear of debris build up in the future, and if they do, what is the plan? We've had informal conversations with senior port people who believe that the ISO high loaders that are stationed at the port could be used to remove debris as it built up. And it is our understanding that the council have been approached about this in the past. And by removing the debris as it built up, we believe there's beneficial, firstly, reducing flooding and damage upstream, reducing the risk of potential damage to the bridges, because how many more floods can those bridges take before the integrity is sort of compromised and we have a Hikawai event. And also, the debris is going to have to be cleared from the bridges at some stage, so why not prevent it as opposed to let it build up? You know, prevention's way better than a cure, generally. We are aware that there are health and safety issues when you have machinery on the bridge, but if that's an issue, we've spoken to people. You can have machinery either side of the bridge and just remove debris from one of the sections, so the water can at least get away and just keep the level down. We think by doing nothing, if there's loss of life, severe loss of property, and again, if the bridges go, you know, Gisborne's going to be munted. You know, absolutely, not just Gisborne, whole of the coast, munted. People won't be able to get to the hospital, won't be able to go to work, and we think if nothing's done, potentially there could be accusations of negligence, which could result in, you see what happens nowadays, could result in consequences. And on a side issue, I'm an insurance advisor broker, and I'm very mindful of the ability to gain insurance now on properties that have been flooded, and sections 71 to 74 of the Building Act and how that impacts potential insurance going forward, but also potential, with the insurance, potential to sell your property, because no bank will loan against a property that has a section 72 on it. So it's really dropped the values of, if that happens, we're going to look at lifting our property whether we use the funding that potentially may be available or not. So we're going to do that ourselves. So we're doing that. So we're going to do something to mitigate further loss, but we are mindful as soon as you go for a consent, you get 72 slapped on, then we're going to be punished, for want of a better term, for us trying to do something to help mitigate further loss. And that's about it, really. I just want people to listen and just be proactive.
A question here from Councillor Gregory. Thank you.
Explain that section 72.
Well, I've actually got a little documentation on it. I don't know how to give it out because it's quite granular. Yeah, it's all here.
Definitely hand it
Yeah,
out later.
yeah, it's probably best to, I don't want to, but it is basically, if it becomes, it says that if your property has suffered loss due to inundation from flood water, storm water, slips or whatever, then EQC will most likely not provide cover for that going forward. And if EQC don't provide cover, the insurance companies won't. And then and we're mortgage brokers as well, and we've said it all the time now, and if you try and get a mortgage and the bank says, well, there's a section 72 on your property, no insurance, so they won't loan on it.
Just to finish off, you will know way more than us about insurance, so just a general insurance question touching on this, because I see this in my office all the time. This will be an issue that will have to be addressed nationally. We need to lobby government to look into that, because I see lots of people saying, but I am going to lift my house, but then the insurance still don't come to the party. And just you highlighting this with us again, thank you for that, but it is an issue that we will have to take to the government as well to address nationally, because it's also affecting our neighbours in the south, the Coromandel and everywhere. So thank you.
And if an area is deemed a floodplain, I know it's happening at Tokonara Bay, the insurance company says, oh, that's fine, we're not, you're building there, you're doing it at your own risk. And while insurance companies make a lot of money, but they got hammered, $4 billion in hail, Gabriel, and other weather events. So for them to be profitable, they've got to make all the decisions.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for taking the time.
No, thank you.
60%.
We're going to take
Down in front of it there. So it's not too hard to set up really close to where the mess is. Councillors, I would consider putting these in small town Tairāwhiti, Wairoa, all the way up to Te Aroa, where the mess is. I mean, on Te Aroa Beach, a month ago I did a quick survey, quick and dirty for half a day. We keep one of those busy for half a year just on the beach alone. And what it produces is biochar that I've got customers desperate for. The primary production sector reckon that this will help their plants and animals grow faster. Second place I get value out of it is when you take carbon that otherwise was going to degrade and rot and emits lots of that carbon to the atmosphere as carbon dioxide, and instead grab it and bake it hard into biochar and put it in the ground, we can issue carbon credits for it. In fact, they are the gold standard carbon credits, the trading for about 8 times the price of a 5% carbon credit currently. So hugely valuable, massively valuable. So I've got customers for this stuff, but I don't have enough biochar. Biochar needs wood. Gisborne District Council has at least 1 million tonne of the stuff sitting on the beach now, and probably more coming down this afternoon. Now this cool system has a side effect. When you go and make the biochar, it creates a lot of spare energy. First type that comes off, there. One of these units spits out spare electricity that it doesn't need, enough to power a lot of households, average Kiwi households. So if we did have this sitting, for example, in Rotorua, suddenly we've got energy generation locally. So they won't have an outage this afternoon when the lines go down. They won't have transmission charges, anything like they have at the moment. And heck, in the business case for it, I didn't even include any revenue from it. So potentially the owner of this plant could be giving it to Rotorua. The second type of energy coming off it, where should I point it toward? Oh, you can do it for me. Good on you. It's spare heat. It's a ton of thermal energy coming off it. And I didn't quite understand what 17.7 gigawatt hours per annum meant until I met a bloke who runs glass houses, one of the McPhail lads at Leaderbrand. He said to me, oh, that's about 6 hectares year round.
I said, you what? He said, yeah, we could run a glasshouse year round that's about 6 hectares off that. I said, good golly, so what would you do if you had all that spare energy? He said, I'd build more glasshouses. You better would. He said, if we didn't build them, we'd contract growers to build them and do it for us. I said, is there a volume demand? He said, do you know how much vegetable we import from Queensland because it's warm? Of course there's demand. So at that level I said, well, heck, okay, cool. So we've got all the spare energy as a byproduct, not the main commercial gig from the biochar stuff. So it builds a lot of resilience in the small communities and reduces costs. So in summary, if I can go back one. Kim, could you make it go back one? Thanks. In summary, we're proposing that for those 4 commercial reasons, the biochar, the carbon credits, the electricity, the thermal energy, there's a lot of commercial reasons to turn that wood that's sitting around in your catchment into money.
Well, thank you for that. It's not often someone sneaks a sneaky sales pitch into one of my submissions, but thank you for taking the opportunity to come and share that with us.
So what do you need from council other than the wood?
We need access to the wood, and it needs start-up capital, and Cabinet has offered kindly to assist in the cost of removing, and council has to fund that, use that funding to remove the large woody debris, I assume. So we'd like to take on that contract in partnership with whatever stakeholding, however it wants to operate from council or other local stakeholders.
Do you have a question, Councillor Cranston?
Yeah, what's the best guess for a setup of a plant? Donald?
It's expensive. Landed in New Zealand, currently the plants are $15.5 million. However, we've got, as I said, these being paid for based on what we can get the product sold for within 5 years in a full commercial model, and they last for 25 years. So you're left with 20 years of profit at that rate, which is not a bad wicket to be on.
Interesting. Andrea, thank you for the handouts.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for your time.
No worries. I can't see Simon yet. What are we, 11? So just take a little break. Okay, so what we might do is we will take a break until 12:30. If Simon turns up, we will then have him as the first submitter at 12:30. So please feel free to take a break, and we'll be back here at 12:30. Thank you. Welcome back to everyone. We will continue. We'll start off with Simon. Hi Simon, you have submitted and spoken to us before, so you know how we do it. Welcome. And we've got a long cross running at the back, Simon, just to give you a heads up. We've got approximately 5 minutes. And yeah, take a seat, relax. Councillors are here to listen. We're not debating anything or discussing stuff as such. We're listening, and we will make decisions.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all,
Sit or stand, whatever suits you. Make yourself at home.
Tell our stories. Mine is similar to Paul's, and we know it's important to keep banging on about the same thing. So I have got a story to tell about the following Sunday that should interest everyone, regarding the slash on the bridges, which we live on here in Drive, so it's a bit of an issue for us with flooding. On Sunday, after the main event, I woke at about 4 o'clock in the morning, or maybe a little bit later, to torrential rain, worse than the cyclone, and in a short spell for sure, but very, very heavy rain. So I've got a good friend up the top of the Waimata, Brett Sinton. I rang him at about 6 o'clock and said, oh, what's the weather like up there? Because obviously that's where our come from. And he said, this is going to be major again. They'd had 5 inches that day, on the Saturday, and overnight he'd just tipped out the gauge and they'd had another 4 inches, so 9 inches in about a 12-hour period. As soon as it was daylight, I went down and had a look at the river. High tide was at 11 o'clock. It's the perfect storm again after what we've all been through. still got 5 hours till high tide, we've got torrential rain, the river's back in flood, and it's only about a metre away from coming back over our section. And for us personally, it wouldn't have affected our house. It would have made more of a mess on our section, but that's not so bad. But a lot more people's houses would have flooded for sure, because it's always going to rise at least another metre with the tide coming in. I went down and had a look at the bridge, and sure enough, the slash was building up again. So I thought, bugger this, we're just not going to do this again. I went home, and partly because I had trouble finding a number to ring anyone, and that's probably my fault, but the Fulton Hogan lady finally gave me the emergency number for the council, the lady who was on duty for council. And I explained the situation. I said, look, it's not a panic yet, but you've got about 4 hours to start clearing slash, otherwise it's going to happen again, and it's probably going to be as bad, if not worse. And she was excellent. She said straight away, I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a digger on standby. It's just a matter of getting someone to drive it, which she did. And then about 3/4 of an hour later, I went back down onto the bridge. This guy's down on the bridge just with a small digger, not major. We're not talking about clearing at all. And then I thought, good, at least we're trying to do something. Everyone's trying to do something, because no one wants it to happen again. And I went down and then I went home and just watched what happened. You've got torrential rain, you've got the river in full flood, you've got the tide coming in, you've got a small digger down here flicking off the worst of the slash, and it's like a plug in a bath. The river just goes straight down again. End of the... So what we're aiming for is a system that can be put in place to monitor. I dare say there's already one to monitor river levels, but some sort of action plan that can be put in place so when it starts happening again, because it's going to happen again, we can get the worst of the slash ripped off the piles, and it's not a big job, but the amount of money and the effect on people's lives is huge. And that's simply all we want. And that's all I've got to say, really.
Simon, thank you.
Thank you very much for your
Question, Simon. From when the digger was moving the stuff from William Petty Bridge, did you notice that that same slash was building up on the Glastonbury Bridge? Or was it going...
It doesn't seem to be as bad. Ideally, you'd want one on each bridge, wouldn't you? Or you'd do one and then go to the other.
No, that's okay. Just a...
We need a system in place.
Councillor Robinson, there's another question, Simon.
So I just want to thank you for making the time to come and share your story. That's a really important story. And I actually, I gained a lot of benefit from hearing that from you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I'm going to invite Chris and Craig to come and talk to us. That is submitted 64.
Thank you for this opportunity to speak. On a shitty day like this, this is like, can I get home? What's it going to be like getting down the hill? You know, not having a bridge is soul destroying. We have to discharge our worker. We have to basically live in isolation. We couldn't reasonably take anybody up there in case we got into trouble. We've already sunk a very expensive stock truck in the soft gravel. The council's first effort to try and help us took a month to build and was there for less than that and basically disintegrated when there was 2 days of rain. We never had the opportunity to use that causeway because the road was not adequately repaired so that we could get to our farm, or the neighbours could get to the back of their farm, or the forestry could get to their forest. In fact, the forestry workers, when they've been doing planning, have had to wade across the river at one point up to their nipple. Obviously, they're fit Fijians, and they didn't take it badly. But we waited for a year politely, knowing that there was lots to do, and we do appreciate how difficult everything is. But basically, we are in a really, potentially life-threatening situation. Helicopters don't fly in the rain, they don't come in the night. We can't get off our hill in the night. It requires an 11k journey across these horrible tracks on Chihau and then down a very steep face that when wet, it's perilous. Ski down it basically. And the last time I did it on my own, on pods, I was really terrified I was going to get brake fade. So we desperately need a solution to our problem, and there are other people in similar problem situations whose lives are completely turned around by slash that nobody seems to want to engage with. No rules. Why? There's millions more tons to come. So I just really would ask you to please consider people like us in our situation, because we used to pay quite a big tax bill. Now we can't get stock on and off. We had to go out of sheep because you can't drive them through a forest. It's really not tenable. And there doesn't seem to be any system that acknowledges the needs of people like us left behind. We've moved on. The cyclone was then. Well, for us, every day is the 15th of February, 2023. It hasn't got any better. We've had 6 food drops and 3 drops of fuel that we paid for. That was the only help we got. We've had to pay for a house in town for me to live in so I can go to work, because I can't reasonably go home and then think I can be out the next day. We did completely self-funding. Yeah, it's not a nice place to be. And there are other people in exactly the same situation as us. Council have stepped up in the last few months, but before that we had negligible contact with them. We didn't know where to go, and we're very grateful because Sarah Telford and Jan Campbell stepped up to help us. And we now have a group, Region Tairāwhiti, and we've got to keep making a lot of noise about what it's like to be in limbo. As you can see, we're not young. This was our retirement farm. Our expectation was to sell it and have a retirement, but we can't do that. So, I really want people to take us seriously.
Any questions of Chris?
Yeah, hi there. Has anyone looked at the possibility of a temporary fall being built?
We need to speak to your engineer. Yes, so I've thought about it.
In the notes. Walton is not ready yet. Harley is definitely not here. Harsh is not here. So what do you think, Jan, if we move both your presentations for Mary and for Pam up now? Would that be okay?
You can do that. There is somebody standing there.
Let's take a look. Let us see what the desk brings to us. Rob, are you ready? So Rob, let's start with you, my friend, because then we know. Thank you. So Rob, you can come. So, mine's not here. So Rob. Very good to know. Okay, councillors, so we are number 144 to 20. So I'll just give you the quick rundown. There, that will take down roughly 5 minutes. We're aiming for. Councillors have received all the submissions. So for us, it is just for you to highlight what you want.
I just dropped my copy of some stuff.
Awesome, and they will make sure every councillor get a copy. Okay. The floor is yours, Rob. Thank you. So if you, Rob, I'm just going to get councillors in the right space. 144 submission.
Page 326.
326, thank you. You can sit or stand, whatever suits you. Rob.
My name's Rob McKenzie. We live at 160 Hickory Road, Motherway. I've said before that Gisborne is a small-sized rural service town, and it relies in large part on its infrastructure, on its roading infrastructure, to get stuff to town, to keep it going. Some of the people that have spoken to you today and will speak later on represent part of that infrastructure and the people that live on those roads. So this is our bit of a story. On the night of the 30th of February 2023, thousands of tonnes of pine logs and other debris were washed down the Waio stream into the Hikuwai River. That resulted in the destruction of the bridge on Hikuwai Road and also the bridge at Ariel Road and the number 1 bridge on State Highway 35 at 3 bridges. That destroyed the only access to our farm, completely isolating us for 2 weeks. In the following 6 months, GDC has paid to install a ford across the river, which functions well at low river levels. To date, the river has been impassable on 95 days, and around 20% of the time. We bought a large 4-wheel drive tractor so we could use the river crossing on more days and to give us a safety margin. Access to the ford is across whenua belonging to Pararaki whānau, and which is farmed by Budgetary Partnership. We are extremely thankful for their generosity and willingness to help us. If we lose their goodwill, we have no vehicle access whatsoever. We've also had great support from our immediate neighbours, Porto Incorporation and Budgetary Farm Partnership. Bridging Tairāwhiti and especially Jan Crawford and Sarah Telford have given considerable assistance in navigating the bureaucracy. The bridge was destroyed by a combination of forest debris and the failure of GDC to maintain a clear channel on the western side, narrowing the channel to 2/3 at the bridge site compared to immediately above and below the bridge. 2 kilometres above the bridge, silt levels left behind indicate a flood level very similar to Bowler, and that was also indicated by flood debris left on the bridge in Bowler. My wife and I are both in our 70s. The resulting upheaval in our lives has had an effect on our health, our finances, causing social isolation and significant stress associated with river crossings. In addition, we have a 25-year-old mukapuna and his 6-year-old daughter who needs to catch the bus to Kura, living with us. Our vehicle maintenance costs a fortune. Silty rivers are very unforgiving on bearings, etc. We're operating in a high-risk environment daily, in common with others in the same position. I allow 10 minutes for each trip in and out of the ford to give time to read the danger signs. Evidently, GDC agrees that fording the river is dangerous. And from the road to recovery document, a new bridge is subject to funding but not likely to until summer 2028. That's totally inadequate for all the people in this position. I've lived at Paringa for 46 years and together with Anne for 20 years. We have maintained and improved the homestead and planted a 1.5 hectare commercial orchard. We're in a beekeeping business, so that's Hikuwai Road honey available at Rota Pharmacy and down to Earth. Beautiful. Our property is worth very little without a bridge. We can't effectively sell our property or borrow against it. Within 4 years, it's possible we're going to live at Paringa without access, and we've got no options to leave. We need a decision by summer of this year. Restore our access or red sticker our property. Now then, there's a sort of a, well, indeed last night I thought of another ending to that rather than that bit. I really hope that you've read all the reports from Bridget, from Bridging Tairāwhiti, especially the one from the Burgesses and the one from Philip Hope, which covers our case. The people who are affected by not having a bridge are intelligent and articulate. They can use long words. They run their own businesses and are used to getting stuff done. Sensibly, we all need to be present as equals, together with GDC, governance and management, in the room to make decisions about the best course of action in each case. We can make our own way in our own way. We don't have to do things the way they would have been. Kia ora tātou.
Kia ora, Rob. Thank you.
Any questions?
You did very well. Thank you.
That's us.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, Joe. Right. So next we will go back, councillors, to the 12 pools for Joe Mackay. And then Walton, is he here? Not yet. Okay. Okay, so what we will do is do Joe. Hi Joe, come on in.
Hi everyone.
No worries. Take a seat, Joe. How are you?
I'm
Not too great. That's all good. Hi Joe, we've got a 5-minute clock counting down there. Councillors have seen the submissions. We are all ears to really highlight what you want us to know. Thank you. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Joe.
Okay, cool. So you can all hear me? Yes. Okay, kia ora koutou. Ko Joe Mackay, tōku ingoa, I te puakera I te riu o Waikuta, o Wāti Parangati o Pōhatu o Tamariki. Yeah, and I am here as part of the Tairāwhiti Environment Centre team. The legends over there. Kia ora. I've been working in waste minimisation, zero waste for almost 20 years. And I have this wonderful task of trying to condense all my whakaaro into 4.5 minutes now. But I've given you a handout because there's actually a lot more that I want to say about this than I can in this time, and so this is for you to get a little bit more depth on our submission. Nobody wants waste. Hey, it's not an outcome that we want. It's not something that council wants, it's not something that community wants, it's not something that businesses want. We spend a lot of time blaming council and thinking that council has the responsibility to deal with waste, and I don't believe that's true. I feel for you because I think it's all of our responsibility. We all make it. And if there's one thing that I want you to take away from my kōrero, is that we all want to be part of this. We want to be part of collaborative working groups that deal with this in a different way. And I think we can do it differently. Yeah, in Tairāwhiti, I think we have this unique position of isolation that we can actually really use to our advantage and do a whole lot of things in the waste space to create a much better outcomes in the future. So we do support a couple of things in the plan, which is a resource recovery centre in Gisborne and greater education and awareness. But there's other recommendations. The first one is that I think we need a landfill. You might think it's ironic for the promoting zero waste, but we actually have to stop disposing of our waste in the region. It's not okay. And Tirohia landfill will be closing. There's different ideas around how far away, but it could be as close as 1 year away. So we have to start finding solutions. And I think we need a landfill within our region. And I think as part of building that landfill, it's an opportunity to take our community on a journey to say we're going to do everything that we possibly can to not fill that landfill. So there's a one in Vancouver, and you have to drive past all your different recovery options before you get to disposal. And if you choose disposal, you get fined because you had an opportunity and an incentive to divert your waste. But that's one that already exists, but there's a lot of innovation in the States that we could be using instead of this mindset of future-proofing disposal. My second point is that I think that we need to move on our community resource recovery centre up the coast. The community's been asking for us for years. The Waipu landfill consent runs out next year, and we need to start thinking about what's the future for waste up there. The landfill itself needs a plan. You know, that's the next Fox River in my mind. The wise ones up the coast say we're 2 weather events from that landfill being disposed. We need to start planning for what we do with that site now and transforming all our systems up the coast from being around transfer stations or disposal to actually, these are resources, these are tonga, and we're going to make the most of them. These zero waste hubs in other regions are being called community resilience centres, and that's the transformation or the shift in mindset that we need around them. Third point is that I think that we need to think longer term on this. And that's, I've called it a zero waste Tairāwhiti 2050 vision, plan and map. And we want a community working group to work alongside council and businesses to achieve this and come up with a plan and come up with a strategy. Because if we're only thinking in 3-year or 6-year timeframes, we're not going to achieve these fantastic outcomes. We need a long-term vision, and then we work backwards and say, well, our 3-year plan is so achieving this longer-term vision. Just like we have with the climate change roadmap, just like MFE has with their waste strategy, I want us to see us working together for a longer-term vision. We want to. And we get that, I got, that feedback is coming through loud and clear in all the different workshops and wānanga and advisory groups that we're part of. People want better outcomes for waste. And my fourth point is that I really want you to consider pausing this idea of wheelie bin investment until we have an understanding of where that's going to take us. I was at Hastings District Council yesterday, and they have other councils coming to them trying to work out how they have such a fantastic crate system because they have so many issues with their wheelie bins. And I've got a whole bunch of points there that you might want to consider when you're thinking about whether we be better off if we make that investment. So yeah, we want to collaborate, we want to do things differently. That's my final point. No.
Thank you, Any questions? Whew. Awesome. I hope you feel better.
No questions? Come on.
Thanks a lot, Joe.
Okay.
Walton, are you going to come and sit next to me? Good. Penny, welcome to the Gisborne District Council. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Right, I've got Walton here with me as well. Penny, the floor is yours. Roughly about 5 minutes. We are allowing our speakers, and afterwards we might have some questions of you. So thank you for taking the time to come and talk to us.
Tēnā tātou. Haere tonu a tātou mate ki te pōnui ko koe tērā e te pāpā whatarau. Haere, haere, o ki aukui atu rā. E taku koro matua me te puni whakahaere i te kaunihera.
We've got a presentation that we share on screen.
Kei te kite. Kāore.
presentation up. Can you tell us when we can change the slides?
Pene, we do have.
Aye.
Sorry to interrupt you. We do have Walton here with us that can translate for us. I just want to know what would work best for you.
Jess said that I would be running the PowerPoint from my end, and I'm just trying to figure out how Teams. I don't usually use Teams. I'm just trying to get to share it. So I'll try one more time. Share content, screen or window. Let's try that. Select window.
If we do have an issue with that, we can run it from our side as well, and Heather can get it on the screen for councillors from this side as well. So see how you go, and then we can also try from this side.
Okay. All right. Entire screen. Okay. Here we go. Goodbye, whānau. Ai, nō reira. Pea. Kei te kite. Nō reira. Haere tonu ngā kōrero. Te aronga ki te whiu para. Tu whera ki a rangi nui, tā maua ki a papa tu anuku. Tau a whia te tupua, e whakata mai nei. Hoki a te maunga tapu whakatau ai. Hono a te ira tangata ira atua puakina te whatu manawa. A koine ngā hua o te ohanga rarangi e whaia nei, e pēhi nei i a tātou oti rā i tō tātou tai ao.
Nei māku e āhua whakapākea tira o pāhane kōrero I ngā wāku kōrero.
Ka pai.
Basically, that was just the introduction, people. As you can see, he sung a waka, which I'm not familiar with, but of course, just to support his mission here on waste and waste disposal.
Ka pai, haere tonu. Waika hua, waika tohu, I nā he oranga tonu mō tātou te ira tangata. Haunga ira atu o ngā ira o ngā atua Māori, ara a manu, a tuna, a tupu hoki.
Ngai kei te whai atu au I tāhau nei ngā pikitia nei, ngai ko ngā kupu, kei raro iho, ngai kaere e hāngai ana ki te pikitia kei runga tonu nei. Kaere e te tino moihio, kei hea I runga I tāku nei tuhi, ngā wāhi ko kōrero tia koe.
Ai, nō reira, ko tāhau e wānanga he whaka Māori aku kōrero a waha. Kawe te tiro ki ngā pepa. Pai ana?
Ka pai. Putting me in on a test.
Ai, ki ro te whananga. Ai, Nō reira, ka huri tonu. Rere iho ana a tātou hua kino ki te moana puki, te moana waipu.
Our waste products are discarded in our oceans and are returned back. Yep.
Taiho ake e utu kei te haere, he āwha, he tai nifa, e whakahoki ana a tātou para ki uta.
Returned back to shore by storms and gales.
Ki te kore e āta manaaki i tēnei rautaki para, mō te para, me ngā taonga hangarua, ka he rawa atu te haere.
We don't give attention to our waste disposal and recycling strategies. The road ahead will be fraught with problems.
Kua whiua ngā mea katoa ki te ipu kotahi, a koa taonga hangarua, a koa para rānei.
Our recycled and waste materials have been combined and disposed of together.
Kohi a te ngau o rangi o papa ki te kopu hei. Mura, toha ki te ao. Kia turu a te tō mai rangi whaka pui a ki a tupu me he rakau he toka pau whenua he whatu titirangi. E hara taku toa i te toa taki tahi, he toa taki mano ki.
My strength is not that of one, but of many.
Kia kotahi te hāpuri ki te waihanga he rautaki, he huarahi e whakātu i te aroaro whenua mo te para.
The community should work together in looking at ways of dealing with waste material.
Mā mātou anō te huarahi o a mātou para e manaaki e whiriwhiri.
Waste disposal strategies should be the task of us all and to look at appropriate ways of disposing and dealing with it as well.
Kia kaua e waiho mā iwi ke tā tātou para e tiaki.
And not to leave it to others and the Māori, leaving it to others to dispose of our waste, but it is a duty that we have.
Ko ngā mātāpono o parakore, ko te kaitiakitanga, te whakapapa, te manaakitanga me te māramatanga.
The principles of zero waste is guardianship, inheritance, and support and understanding.
Kia hurihia te anganga tō tika a te ao takiuru, ki te pūnaha a mio hei oranga mo te katoa.
Change from mechanized systems to more environmentally friendly systems.
Hei a te ohanga a mio mahi, he whakahoki i ngā taonga ara i te ngao kia papa tuanuku, hei whāngai i aia.
The principle of environmentally friendly disposal waste systems is to allow Mother Earth is to return to Mother Earth in a clean condition.
Me whakamana i ngā rautaki o a tātou tipuna. Ki te whakatipu, te kōhua, te toha, te hauhaki, te hopu, te manaaki i a tātou taonga kai.
We need to give support to strategies of our ancestors in regards to growing, to cooking, to distribution, to capturing and caring for kai as a taonga and of the environment, let alone for us as well.
Whakahoki ngau ki te whenua tu whera ki a rangi, tā maua ki te papa. Toia mai te ngau ki te moringa o te poho, whiua ki te whaiao. Tau a whia te tipua e whakata mai nei. Hoki a te maunga tapu, whakatau ai. Kia whakatūwhera ngā taupuni para kore ki ngā hāpori I roto I te kaunihera ārohe o Tūranga Nui a Kiwa.
Waste disposal sites should be opened up to the community throughout Tairawhiti and Tūranga Nui a Kiwa.
Ko te whakautu a ngā tamariki o te kura o Hātearangi ki te para I kohe e rātou ki te takutai mōna ki Tokomaru Bay.
The response of the students at Hātearangi School in Tokomaru was to gather the waste products on the Tokomaru shore.
Whakapekia te pūnaha whakarōpū para mai te hangarua, te porowhiu me te tahu ki te whakangau, he kaupare I ngā mea kāre tino take.
We should give more attention to the system that combine rubbish and recycled material, and in particular to burning of material, gathering, combining, so that they are more efficient and work better in the interests of recycling.
He hoki ki ngā taonga koe mā a koro mā, hei tuapapa mō parakore.
So returning to the principles of our ancestors as a foundation for dealing with zero waste.
Manake hia te rinana o parakore hei mura mō a pōpō.
Serving our community for zero waste.
Tēnā koutou te whānau. Tēnā koe e te whanaunga a Walton ki te whakamaori aku kōrero. Tēnā koutou.
Good, thank you, Pene, for that. And thank you. Questions of Pene?
Can I just raise one thing? This should have been a rolling PowerPoint presentation because these images changed with each part that Pene was talking about as he went along. And so because we didn't synchronize, and we're probably missing some of the visual material that would have given his quarters. So apologies, Pene. Kaere ngā pikitia e ki te ana I te wai kōrero ana koe.
Ai. Ka pai. Ai aroha. Yep. Ai.
Any questions of Pene? Thank you very much for your written as well as your verbal submission today. We do appreciate that, and we will be discussing this at our workshop or our deliberations at the end of the month, and then we will be making decisions in the middle of June. So thank you for taking the time.
Kia ora mai.
Thank you. Thank you, Walter. Yes. Thank you for that. Mr. Harley Dibble. We are running right on time, 1:10. Really short one. Have a seat. You submitted several times. I'm not going to give you the lowdown. The only thing is, either can we restart the clock? Thank you. All good. The floor is yours, Harley. Thank you.
So I'm here to present to you in relation to Wera Wenere. As you know, I presented late last year to full council and presented to the transport hearings as well. The crux of the submission is that we've had a very successful pilot and we've recommenced this year, starting with the beginning of the school year, and we are seeking some funding to keep us going for the next 3 years, funding from council, but also financial support from Waka Kotahi. The difference with
it's not clicking here. It's playing up a little bit, must be the rain. There we go. Can I just ask if it doesn't work, you just click with Heather. Heather will be the clicker. Okay, thanks.
You have my submission, so I'm going to just flick through a few slides. I don't want to labour it too much, but Wednesday Challenge is essentially encouraging schools and businesses to think about taking a different mode of transport, other than single-use occupancy car on a Wednesday. And there are multiple benefits for that. And what I wanted to highlight is that the schools in particular are really enjoying taking part in this program. They are seeing benefits in the attention of kids Wednesday, coming to school fresh and rearing to go when they've been walking and cycling to school. The kids are really enthusiastic about the program. The teachers and principals are really enthusiastic about the program because they see it as a positive safety initiative. So it's reducing congestion at the school gate, and a lot of schools are worried about that. And also, it's providing an impetus for teachers and parents to get involved with things like walking buses and other initiatives to have a real community approach to kids to school.
You just tell her Heather, she'll click.
So there's a few slides, you can just click through them Heather if you like, which is just showing we have an app that businesses and schools use to log their journeys on a Wednesday, so to say what sort of journey they took on a Wednesday. There is some healthy competition going on between the schools, and we're aiming to do the same for business as well. So there's leaderboards and there's some prizes to encourage children and workplaces to get involved. Very quickly was the environmental educators that come down to the school gates and encourage the kids. Cody, Bridget and Anne-Marie, and they are fantastic. So very lucky to have them involved. We have a lot of support from different agencies, not all financial, but moral and just encouragement, because it aligns with their values and what they're trying to achieve as agencies. And we have some major funders as well. So the Trust have provided us some funding to sort of keep us going this year. And we have a major national sponsor in Mercury Energy, who are providing a bunch of prizes for schools, and also just to acknowledge that Gisborne District Council has provided us also a little bit of money to keep us going to this year. Waka Kotahi, very supportive. This was obviously based on a pilot that happened last year that they fully funded. Conscious of time, Sophie. Sorry, Heather. And I just quickly to say, we have a relationship with the Wednesday Challenge program in Tauranga, who provide us a bunch of support, help us with that national sponsorship, just help things to run really smoothly in Tairāwhiti. So it's a really beneficial relationship that we have. And that's my 5 minutes, so I'll stop there.
Thank you, Harley, and yes, it's a recap of what we've had this before, but thank you for taking the time to come and discuss today. Any questions? I don't think so. Thank you, Harley.
Thank you.
Okay, Tash, welcome. Councillors, I welcome Natasha Koya. Welcome, Natasha.
Exactly, Celia Natasha.
Here we go.
Taking 5 minutes to
All
kiss
good.
everybody.
You'll be like this going. Take a seat, make yourself at home.
Have I got a clip?
These are Heather's looking like she's our clicking lady because so you can read, it will come up here, so you can read from here. And then, oh, there we go.
Oh, no.
Good.
Tēnā tātou te whānau, kia ora te mai ngā kōwera pita awa, ko rongo I te kai, rongo haere, te aohau ngā marae, ko te aitanga mate te whānau, a rā kai ro te whānau ātapuhi, ngā hapu, ko Ngāti Wharau Tete. Tēnā rā tātou te whānau waku, tuakana taina, Uchira, oops, tātou katoa, Uncle Walton, kei marira, ngā pau, e whakahaere ana I a tata Nadine, Waret, tēnā tātou katoa. So, healing our region for our future. Our vision, oranga wai, oranga tangata, oranga moa, pōpō, oranga whenua. We pē here te tūtuki. How do we heal our region for the future? How can we achieve our vision in the midst of climate change in Te Tairāwhiti? Long-term planning means mokopuna goals, mokopuna outcomes.
Let's see if the clicker works.
Does the clicker that way?
No.
So you.
There we go.
When I have a pause, then you change. Yeah. At the why. So I'm going to take you on a journey where I'm from. Ko wau te whenua, ko te whenua ko wau. There is no separation between Mother Earth and all her living beings. What we do to her, we do to ourselves. Our wai is sick, our land is sick, our people are suffering, which equals unhealthy future. We have become disconnected. So how do we reconnect ourselves? Click.
Thank you. Thanks, Heather.
The why. This is my hood. Kaitiaki, we are all stewards of the whenua. We won't be able to regenerate landscapes until we regenerate ourselves, so we can look after those landscapes. We need to take responsibility. Click. So this is my hood, Hikurangi, Aorangi, and right in the, you can see my little house, Te Whanau Kaka, right there. Okay, click.
Oh.
Is it working now?
No, it's not working. There it's going.
And this is my...
It just did.
So this is my why. This is where I walk every morning, whānau. What do I do like that?
Yeah, just like that. And it takes like, you click and then it goes.
No, it's not red.
Let me see if I do it.
It follows technology.
No, it won't go either.
It's okay, you can
We go. Just need to give it time.
Thanks, yeah.
Or double click.
So, and this is my palm, my little brown house is right next to you on State Highway 35. Pop in for a cup of tea. So this is my why.
Double click.
Double click. Anyway. A kuni ka pau te rima meneti kia wai.
This way.
Oh, there we go.
Easier.
There you go. So that's a proper picture, and that's our beautiful State Highway 35, just before Rotorua, everybody. I'm getting there. So those are our tipuna, and there's myself and my daughter. So this is, I walk backwards into the future with my eyes fixed on the past. Ka tuku te toro au, taka tuku te toro au tai, from the sea to the mountains we will strategize not only to survive, but to thrive. We need to plan creatively and act courageously. So mokopuna goals and mokopuna outcomes means every decision we make today, you guys, us, affects their future. And as we know, Dr. Andrew Tate did his presentation just last month, and the predictions are more extreme weather events, droughts, wildfires and flooding. So I'm worried ke te mahara au mō waku mokomokos. Kia hai te take, how do we land here? Well, we all know our anthropocentric ways. Capitalism, colonisation, how we've degraded the whenua and not looked after her, and our huge reliance on fossil fuels, which means creates greenhouse gas emissions and climate change, which we are experiencing today, which affects me being able to live at home, me being able to whakahaere te wā ki tikanga ki te pā, ki te korenga ruri ko kakakatia, ka hi ki rawatu, ka mau. And all our whānau who live kei te whenua, which they've struggled all this year, all last year, to come home, and it's caused heaps of trauma. I've got whānau in Wellington who are hoha with me because they're thinking, they can't come home. And that's on the back of COVID too. When we had to make a stand to shut our pā and tangi not being able to come home. So this is real people. So me pēhia te haere whakamua. How do we move forward? Reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, planning long term in terms of sustainable future, which is looking at our land use, our industries and our waste. Really want to support our GDC climate change roadmap. It's all our roadmap, not just the councils. And it's going to take, as Joe and as Harley and as Penny have already spoken about, it's going to take a team effort, and we need to collaborate. We don't have the luxury to be wehe, to be divided. Implementing sustainable, holistic strategies to become resilient to the effects of climate change. Mateke e oho, we need to wake up. So in terms of roads, as you know, this is familiar. I just drove down this morning, and it just even takes a little rain. And so my worry is really about, we're chucking a lot of money into the roads, but how sustainable is that? And we need to work with our scientists, we need to work with our engineers, and we need to be making long-term plans about the sustainability of our rori. And he mea no tāku in terms of maladaptation. Sometimes we have short-term ideas to hurry up and fix the roads so Natasha can drive in to town to get her eyebrows done. But we've got to remember, like short-term fixes, we need to be listening to the scientists. We need to be listening to the engineers to give us good, solid, sound advice. And I'm not that, but still want to get my eyebrows done. So there's a cool little link there in terms of, there's some really brainy scientists, just adaptation. So they're doing a whole lot of work, and I think that tool in terms of assessment is really good for us, for our kaimahi. Woody debris, industry must take responsibility. Is forestry actually an industry that's sustainable? We do need to look at alternative industries, kia tiaki te taio. How do we move from a carbon-intensive system to a low-carbon future? And also local problems or local solutions. Use the skills and expertise of us living in all our valleys to help fix the problem as well. We have contractors coming in from different ends of the coast, and my uncle's got a digger right there, Makarika. They can take away the wood. Don't need to get somebody from, Te Araroa. So that's what I'm talking about. We need to be better at talking to each other and actually empowering ones like me at home to do the do, because they want to. Because at the end of the day, the next cyclone, you guys aren't there. and we're all blocked off, you know, and then we're all flooded off, so we need to be able to look after ourselves. I know that I'm probably gone, oh no, only 3 minutes. So what we need to do, I'm amazed, in terms of
It means you're in the negative.
waste disposal, really Te Toko Joe and Pene, recovery centres up the coast. There's a whole heap of whānau who are like, they're like salt of the earth, like Papa Bill Hughes and Kokajan. You know, we've got heaps of us that are just ready to do the do. And Papa Bill's like, Tash, I don't really know much about climate change, but it just makes sense to me. It's simple. Keep it simple. So I'm just here, hei whakawaha, hei māngai mātātou. So it's going to take communities, all of us, taking direct action and responsibility for our own waste. I'm the worst. So, and support initiatives like Parakore, Tairāwhiti Environment Centre, and get advice from organisations like Extreme Zero Waste in Raglan. And we need to do more than just recycle to achieve zero carbon by 2050. We need to actively reduce our waste. So how do we move? I'm using all your guys' words here, guys. So sustainable land use, economic options, reduce our gas emissions, recovery centres, each person taking active responsibility for our own waste. GDC, community and experts, mahi tahi, set up a working group, I'll be on that. Macro to micro, so my husband's in the UN at the moment, and so government, national, international governments, right down to the government, regional councils like you guys, right down to us at home, whānau marae, hapu, and you and I in our tamariki and mokopuna. Everyone has a role, everyone has a responsibility. I'm nearly there, guys, sorry. So when we stand alone, we are vulnerable, but together we are unbreakable. And there's, what's his name? Kerry Hudson.
Oh, yes.
Come up with that. Kerry. All right, hei whakamutunga, mokopuna goals, mokopuna outcomes, oranga moa, pōpō, healthy future. Each decision we make today affects their future. Take responsibility.
Okay, councillors, next I welcome Karen Goldsmith. Kia ora, Karen. You can see what we have, roughly 5 minutes, we'll run down on the screen, and we are here to listen. The floor is yours.
Kia ora tātou. I'm unlike I won't do an intro because it'll use up precious time. I'm here on behalf of Te Wai, a collective of marae representatives for each marae in Te Waiapu. We were mandated by our whānau and hapu to come and present our whakaaro around the 3-year plan. Essentially, our whānau absolutely reject the 3-year plan, primarily because we can't see ourselves in it. We have lots of issues at home, and that plan doesn't speak to any of the issues that are currently presented for us on a daily basis. The photos that you currently see are a representation of one of the issues that we have. Essentially, they are pictures of infestation of woody nightshade. And you will see that those photos are taken on the boom. I tried to research information around council responsibilities around noxious weeds. As you know, woolly nightshade is a noxious weed, and I couldn't find anything apart from saying how we need to be good neighbours. Like I said at a hui at Hinepare where 2 of your councillors were present, this is your neighbour here saying to you to be a good neighbour because all of that woolly nightshade exists on your property, because we know that weed is absolutely hazardous to our whenua. Pretty much what my whanaunga earlier spoke about, the hara that it does to our whenua, to our animals, to our whānau, to our people, to our mokopuna, and our pakeke. Our community is predominantly made up of pakeke. And we know that we don't have the services that you have here, the medical health services that you have here in Gisborne. We have nothing in Rangitukia and Tikitiki. Therefore, this makes this issue even greater. And so that is my message here today also, is that is a real issue for us. There is a paddock that sits behind your burns, which is full of woolly nightshade. And obviously that's going to carry into our paddocks as well. And so something desperately needs to be done about that. I'm not here, however, just to park the problem, to put the problem in front of you, but because we are a solutions-focused community, that we are here to also provide you with a solution and to say, invest in us, provide us with the resource, and that we will engage our own whānau who have the equipment, who have the capability to be able to do that. Much like Tash said earlier, that we have our own people with equipment to be able to take care of problems like this. That plan doesn't speak anything to these issues. We also have issues around our roads in and around Rangitukia and the Tikitiki area. One of them is the main access out of Rangitukia. Heaven knows why anyone would want to leave that place, but should, just in a normal rain, there is flooding probably about 40 to 50 metres in length. It just floods because there's nowhere for the water to escape. We have had people come in from out of the district to come and band-aid the issue, but you can bet your bottom dollar that every time it rains, that area continues to flood. Again, I implore you, invest in us, and that we will ensure that our own people are engaged to take care of the problem. The other thing that I want to do quickly before my time is up is to remind the council, because I know that we came here earlier this year about the ngā hapu o Ngārohe Moana. So I'm the project manager for the whangaokena ki One Poto. And I just want to remind council that any decisions that council make that impact on our takutai, because we know that we have high sedimentation rates, particularly from the Waipu into the ocean, that any decisions that are being made that impact on our seabed requires conversation with ngā hapu o Ngārohe Moana in particular. I can't speak for all of them, but I can in terms of whangaokena ki One Poto, and also to remind the council that there are certain imperatives and obligations under that legislation that need to be met, and we encourage you to take steps, and also people within the council to take steps to action those requirements under the legislation. Nā reira, tēnei te mihi atu ki a koutou katoa.
So Hila, is Kirsty going to come via Teams?
Yes, the roads, she's not here.
That's all good. We've got 5. Please make yourselves at home. Take a seat. Councillors, I welcome the Burgess whānau here talking to us today. Jasmine, we've got Helen, and we have Ian with us, and they will talk to us about the bridge. These are the just installed around here. Jasmine, we do have a clock here, but there's a... You guys, there's several allowed, and Jan is not going to speak a long time at all, so we can double that time. You just use share with us what you have to share. Thank you and welcome.
Everybody, so I'm Jasmine Helen. We farm sheep and beef on Catchment Road, and it's built in our submission. We were on the Burgess Bridge that was taken out at Cyclone David. Our submission is pretty much just focusing on the infrastructure investment side of things, and just really trying to highlight the urgent need for investment. Locally, it is the case, but there are others in similar situations to us. And we are here as part of the wider Bridging Tairāwhiti group as well. A lot of us are still treading water, and it's been 15 months since the cyclone, and we're actually in a worse position than we were right after the cyclone. And we're still operating in a really high risk environment. So we feel that the 3-year plan really needs to prioritise people like us. We're not the only ones, and we sort of fall between the policy cracks. It's not like housing where we are yellow sticker or red sticker or something like that. But I'll leave it now to Ian to talk about what it's like without safe, reliable access.
Yeah, hi everyone. Just to sort of highlight our situation today, actually. Started off with waking this morning to heavy rain and thinking, oh, crikey, we've got to get our vehicles sorted. We have a low level crossing that we can use, and we've used through the summer. But as soon as it rains, 10 to 15 mil comes up, and our only alternative is 10 k's overland with a four-wheeler or using a flying fox. So this morning we had to shift a vehicle across the river because it was raining, and then wait to see whether the river was going to come up or not. Fortunately, it was low enough for us to cross, but as soon as this meeting's over, because it was out rain, and it's hard to know how we're going to actually get back home, to tell you the truth. It could either be 10 k's overland or whether or not we use the flying fox. At the moment, the flying fox is not certified. We're waiting for that. But it'll depend on the conditions at the time as to whether we use that or whether we go overland. Just sort of the other thing I'd like to highlight is how hard it's been as far as stock. We're farmers, obviously. Our money is by selling stock. Getting stock overland is our only option. We have no. We have been able to sell a few lambs across the river by using a contractor that's got an old truck that's got a high nose to it, so it can actually get in and out of the river, and we can transship. And on average, it takes us 3.5 hours to transship to get stock out, which is
That option's only for about 2 to 3 months of the year. There's only a tiny window.
Yeah. So other than that, it's through the generosity of neighbours that we've been able to actually get stock out. That's our biggest probably issue. That, as far as the farmer's concerned, the other one is health and safety. What happens if we have an emergency and we've had heavy rain? How do we get out? Our main concerns are that we need a bridge. Carrying on with going overland and getting stock out has only been in the generosity of our neighbours. It has issues. All the ducks have to line up basically just to get the stock out, and on a couple of occasions it hasn't happened, and we'll have to cancel getting stock out. And yeah, that's probably. Yeah, if anyone's uncertain what's going on, fire some questions.
Questions?
You mentioned about your flying fox not being certified. What do you need to get it? How do you need to get it certified?
I think we're currently investigating that one. Tim Berry has been really good in helping with that one. It's a slow process. I mean, the fox was put up in an emergency situation, and then the council came back and reviewed it, and now the requirements are that it needs to be certified for us to carry on using it. So we're only using it for goods only at the moment, unless there's because the only other alternative is, 10 k's overland and the conditions. That's not a safe option.
More dangerous than using a flying fox.
So the flying fox is just for your family, your own immediate family?
Oh, yeah.
So you can't sign
the
a
only way we
disclaimer or anything?
Well, no, it's not for
That's
people.
right.
We're not. It's goods only.
Goods only.
We can't.
And you can
But
see
yeah,
some
we've,
pictures in the.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures of it.
So that would highlight the inability to have staff on us. Now having to do, we normally used to have a lot of staff, not a lot of staff, but casual people who want to help us in the crunch times. And now it's just in line and it's hard. We've had to purchase quite a few expensive bits of capital to help us do the work and also to keep us safe, because that's been quite a highlight for me personally, is the safety side of it. We can't afford to get injured for many reasons. So we have had quite a lot in lots of safe refuges because we can't have staff helping us. So it's hard.
There is an outfit over in Rotorua that proposing to come over and look at the flying fox. So yeah, we just sort of
Any more questions? Hi, thank you also for your well-written submission that's in Thank you. Well, thank you so much for your time. And also had Rob submitted quite a few Thank you. Thanks a lot. Jan, you are presenting on behalf of Mary and Pam. Welcome. Take a seat, make yourself at home. You can stand or sit. There's a clock going there. Welcome. Grab a seat.
Hello everyone, I introduced Sarah Tolkien and I've asked her to sit with me because I was planning to present for Mary anyway, but Mary has the COVID today. And I haven't been to see her bridge, but Sarah knows it well, so when questions come, ask Sarah. This is just a brief submission. Mary is 68 years old and retired, so she has nearly 20 hectares, about 50 acres. Sheep, cattle and her favourite horses because she goes hunting. Mary lives alone. Her husband has moved into town, he couldn't hack it. 4 months of isolation last winter was very much, wasn't it? And she's facing that isolation this winter too, and is at considerable risk when crossing the Waipawa River. It's the sandy bottom and the sand moves and it can be quicksand. So she's been very reliant on her neighbour Craig, who's living on the farm next door alone, and on her own good judgment, either riding her horse, quad bike, four-wheel drive, Craig's tractor or whatever. The issue, of course, at that age, and it's a similar age for all of the people in Bridging Tairāwhiti, is that they have to plan ahead. They have to have a succession. They have to get out. And it's not very easy to do that in the situation that they find themselves in. It's called limbo. So they understand that funding is a key issue, have been making submissions in Wellington to support the council in its efforts to get decent funding for replacement bridges in Tairāwhiti. And I'm keen to work with you. In the event that funding does come through, that's wonderful. If it doesn't, then there have to be alternatives because they need something as a safe access next winter. It's not really feasible to leave them forever. Sarah, did you want to say anything more on Mary's behalf? Because you know her case.
I know she's been in everybody's bonnet.
Yes.
She's been ahead of us with a lot of people. A lot of people either don't answer the phone when it's Mary or she's on their speed dial. She's in a pretty dire position. She emailed me last night at 10 o'clock to say she was feeling unwell, she's got COVID. I haven't been able to get hold of her today. I've emailed, I've texted, I've phoned, I've asked Chris and Craig to call in to make sure she's still alive today. It's unusual for her. Yeah.
And that raises the issue that Sarah and I will work on regardless, is how to get recognition of the situation these people are in with the helicopters, the St John's, the fire, because they need to get help. You often, like today, you need help on the day when the helicopter probably wouldn't go and get you anyway. That's what happened to Rob McKenzie last year. You know, they had a medical emergency and it was not the right weather. So we have to solve this problem of access for them. And it has to be good, safe access, regardless of whether it ends up being a bridge or not. As far as Pam Hamilton goes, Pam Hamilton does have alternative access. She's on Ruakaka Road. Pam Hamilton is two things, really. She cares terribly about the community. She was just so worried on everybody's behalf that she's supporting bridging Tairāwhiti. The other thing is she has a wonderful idea for Doneraile Park, which we'll bring back to you on another day.
She does.
Thank you.
No, you've got more there. You finished it? All finished?
Well, Mary's situation is the same as Craig and Chris's.
Chris and Craig, so they're all on equal fire.
Same bridge, same.
Yeah, look, we at council, we're all well aware of these situations, only three of them that are in that position, and unfortunately, up till now, they do fall through the cracks. Like you said, they're not a red ticket or that category. We do have to find a way forward, and we are, yeah. But we've got a
Question? Is there a question in there?
Thank you, Rob.
No, there's not.
That's all right, Councillor Telford.
Can I just say something on bridging Tairāwhiti for what I've been doing? I've been doing a lot of background things. My main concern has been helping these people mentally. So I'm not talking about in a mental health, that's for the professionals, but in any way, you know, listening to them, you know, trying to figure out what help they might need. Is there somebody I can talk to? Is there a meeting I can go to? Today is the first time we've had the group being able to physically be together. We were going to be meeting after this meeting, but they've all gone home in case they get stuck. My next thing after this, now that we've passed this hearing stage, it's been really busy bringing these guys together, is to talk to the emergency services and get these guys on a priority list so that when they dial 111 or they push the button, it comes up automatically. There is no access to this property because one of the things I heard, St John's were unaware that there were still properties with no access. So I'm working with those people. I'm wanting to get a targeted first aid course for our group. There's a company that would come over from Taranaki to do that. I'd like to get the other emergency services involved in that if possible, because I think it's vital information. There's very personal experiences that they can share, and being farmers, they need to know, worst case scenario, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see the blood and guts. You're going to, we don't want it involved. So I'm pushing for that, and I'm pushing also for any other support that is out there, and I'm not talking just funding. Funding's a minor part of it. But support for whatever they're going to need, whether that's business or anything that they need for their farming practices, anything that they need. In terms of, if they can't get to town, How can we help them with, you know, things that they should be doing, you know, if they were able to leave the farm. So helping them with all of that, but I see what we're doing here and what I've been learning with the group is that this would be used a lot with the wider community. So I'm going to be talking with MPI about this, about, you know, possibly getting a workshop, everybody at a table, talking about sharing information, because that has not been happening. It's really important. And bringing all the people together.
And please pass our regards on to Mary and tell her, I hope she gets better soon.
I don't want to go near it.
Oh, poor lady.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, are we very early, because we did Rob early this morning. Rob, it was only your slot now. So you could have another go if you wanted to. We, because we've now had a cancellation of Christy Plale, so that is not happening. Has Adrian, Adrian, thank you. Just all relaxed and laid back. Hey, councillors, I take you to our submission number 32 under Camille Collier, but Adrian is going to speak on their behalf. It is submitter number 132, and we do have a handout as well. Do you have a presentation that's going to go on here? But or no. There we go. All is yours, mate. 5 minutes.
Starting now.
You can stand or sit, relax, no stress.
Kia ora. Kia ora. Kia ora, Adrian Sparks, Taka Unua. Thank you very much. First of all, hey, thank you for the opportunity. It's great to see a few faces that I know here. It's pretty exciting for me, and you know, hey, what a cool idea that we. I suppose you've done it a lot, but first time for me, so very exciting. And thank you for your time. I'm here on behalf of GBA, Gisborne Basketball. I think let's follow the process through. There's been a feasibility study that's been set out by you guys about an indoor stadium that we're very fond of. So we just wanted to come along today and fly the flag more for that. We can get to the nuts and bolts of it later on if I have time. A little bit of the feasibility that's come through has been really positive. I mean, it hasn't been officially released yet, but one of the exciting things from us was that the whole of the community were really positive for it, and that was across the board. You know, every sport. I mean, we of course basketball, which is vital for an indoor stadium, but all the way through netball, pickleball, all those sports, even kapahaka, who haven't been able to use the YMCA since 2016 because of size. I didn't even know that, you know, so they've got their own adventures. So across a broad spectrum, our community is really pro an indoor stadium. And again, I stand before you as a basketballer, yes, through and through, but it's not just about basketball. It's a multi-sport stadium or a indoor stadium that can be used for lots of activities. So the feasibility study from the community was exceptional and showed across the board the community was right behind it. GBA basketball, we're across the spectrum age and gender-wise. You can see a few photos there just of living proof. You have Rising Stars, which is your early childhood 5-year-olds. That's in the Boys High gym. Boys High have been very good to us. They let us use the gym a hell of a lot, so we're very grateful to them. We run mini ball, which is your primary school. We run that in the Boys High turf, the netball, the tennis courts and the hockey turf outside there. We can only run that in term 1 and term 4 because of the weather. You know, so we have to be outdoors because of the numbers. We use tennis court markings because there's That's all we have. And we have little mini hoots put up, and the kids run around and love it. Of course, there's the odd time when it's raining, which is a bit upsetting, but we carry on. So mini ball primary school. Intermediate, we struggled there a little bit with Ilminster. The courts are beautiful there. Secondary school, we're at Boys High at the moment. So our volunteers, and as being a part of the GBA committee, we're still very operations based, so we're very hands-on. So we're pretty much there from 4:30 till 9 o'clock at night. And we're running secondary school right now, Monday, Wednesdays and Fridays. It's a huge time commitment for the few volunteers that we have. You know, if we had a multi-sport stadium, you know, we could do that all in one night and be able to do more. Plus, of course, the other sports. Adult league we run next term, again, purely because the adults are always hassling us, saying, when is it on, when is it on? You know, in Napier and stuff, they're pretty much playing basketball all year round. We can only facilitate it in one term of the year, really, because of manpower and availability. Waikaha, that's good. Vanessa Lowndes and they run a league on Wednesday, that's the YMCA. So that's a lovely league, I help with that, and it's a lot of fun and a real blessing to be a part of. So again, lots of genders, lots of ages, and they love it. Today it starts at 11. They were turning up at 10 o'clock asking for basketball, you know, so it's beautiful. Anyway, I suppose the point is for us, growth is to the point we are, is it root bound? Is that the technical term? You know, we can't grow because we're just bound by the pot. There's a lot of potential there. I mean, you know that the young kids, our young kids love this sport. It's very, is it trendy? Is that, you know, it's in, they love it. They're very athletic. It's natural to them. They love to play. And we have got to the point where we are turning people away from playing the sport or being involved in a sport. We just don't have the capacity to do it, which is heartbreaking. A few facts for you. 2013, there was a national indoor sports strategy, and even then it said Gisborne was in dire needs of it. Here we are 10 years later. Sweet. I suppose for me, I know that there's a lot of needs and dire needs out there and stuff, so we understand that and we really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and there's a lot of priority on the roads and all that sort of stuff, but what good are roads if we've got nowhere to go? You know, so, and hey, we're not asking for a lot. We don't really, you know, essentially what we're saying is please show us your positivity to it so that we can further go out our town to the big Westpacks or the Rabobanks and say, hey, and they'll look at it and say, well, yes, the council is behind it. So even $20 would probably be a start. You know? We know you have other commitments, so we're not asking for a lot, really just your buy-in, I think, is how it works at a high political level. So really that's what we've come to say here. We've got some very enthusiastic people that can go out of town or can ask people who have the money, I feel would be great. So really we're just asking for your blessing. A little curveball that we might throw at you is, for us basketball, I know that, you know, there's land, land is also an affirmation that, hey, we are behind you, and if you can get money, well, this is where you could go. That, I'm not speaking out of turn, but, you know, soccer has all council land and stuff and uses that, you know, netball. Basketball is kind of homeless and lost. And we would love somewhere to sort of put a peg in the sand. That's an option as well, because that would look great. You know, hey, look, Gisborne's been busy with more priority things, but they've said, hey, if we got something, we could put it here. That would be a huge blessing as well, or huge help. Have I rambled enough, or shall I ramble more?
Wow, you've done very well. Only 1 minute and 40 seconds over.
All right. sorry, I'll stop now then.
No, that's all good. Anything else that you wanted to add, or any questions from councillors? There's a councillor.
Yes.
Adrian. Thank you for your presentation. I just wanted, I know there's, especially in the last 5 years, hundreds of kids who are now playing basketball. Do you have a kind of a ballpark number if you took into account your rising stars, your primary kids, your high school kids, your senior league, and your Vanessa Lowndes whānau that are competing?
800.
Thank you very much.
Any location preferences that have been indicated?
Well, since you've asked, we're in love with the Olympic pools. You know, wouldn't that be awesome? Because of course we travel all the time. I'm going to Palmerston North in the weekend for the Women's League. I'm going to look forward to an 8-hour trip in the van with ladies.
Jack Stefan's
secretly I'm looking forward to it. But you know, it's a massive effort logistically. We travel all the time. I've got to go away at King's birthday weekend as well to Palmerston North again for the regionals. We can bring people to Gisborne. Imagine having a stadium at the beach next to the pool. You know, the beaches, the surf clubs, the pool, the park. I mean, that is rock star stuff, you know. So you asked the question. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for. Thanks a million, Andrew.
All right.
Adrian, listen to me, Andrew. It's late in the day. Adrian,
Yes, no, you get a big one. Thank you for your time.
Thanks. I just want to say I'm loving the fact that we're having applause today. Really good. So, Terence, we're running quite early. Are you waiting for more people, or are you happy to do your presentation? Good, so we can take a little break now and aim for your time. If you're waiting for more people, Papai, grab a cup of, what's that?
He's ready.
No, he said he's waiting for more people.
I was joking.
Oh.
You're really joking.
It's very late in the day. I didn't get that. So Terence, if you are happy, because I know our last presentation of the day can only happen at 2:50. So
it's 2:30. You'll be joining us at 2:30 now.
Oh, well, I did not get that updated memo, which is great. Hey, Terence, welcome to the Gisborne District Council. Councillors, it is our second to last submission, Gisborne Seniors Climate Action Group. Lovely to everyone there. Do you want to come to the front? Molly, hi Nona, hi Devin, hi Barry. There we go, we've got more than enough seats here. We make space. No more seats. Happy to see you, Nona.
You're looking lot.
There we go, Barry.
Very good time.
Good.
Oh, you've got it there anyway.
Right. There we go, Devin.
Which over?
The floor is yours. You have presented to us before, so you know the drill. Welcome.
I'm halfway up, halfway down. I'll sit down and I'll get moved. Right. Thanks for this opportunity to talk to you. We are a newly formed group, so we're all very nervous. We're thinking about where we're headed here, but it's a great opportunity to talk to you. I wanted to start by saying what we already know, all of us, and that is that climate change is the most important issue facing us these days. And obviously, hovering over this series, the Cyclone Gabriel was driven by, intensified by climate change, and it's impacting our life, all of our lives. I was interested a couple of weeks ago in a survey, which was kind of shocking, about people's attitude for climate change. Well, that 6% of people last year before the cyclone were worried about climate change. Now 73% of your constituents are concerned or very concerned about climate change. That is really significant. And a new presentation last week from one of the lead climate scientists confirmed that that your constituents are right to be concerned about climate change. Elders, research and my own gut feeling, are one of those groups that are most vulnerable to climate change. I've been dabbling in the research and it's kind of impressive. But seniors also, I get worried when I see seniors painted as the victims or the recipients of help, service, and help us. There's a lot of seniors out there who've got experience, they're professionals, they've got skills, they've got and that knowledge of several generations in some case of the way things used to be, how things got where it got today. I think elders bring that kind of message through the whole process of thinking about how we're going to deal with climate change in the future. Obviously, you know that you belong to it. About 18 months ago, you enacted and put out there the Roadmap 2050. It talked about emissions, it talked about adaptation, and it talked about transition, big three. And those are the things that we need to be engaged in, but we need to be doing it faster, obviously. The 3-year plan, quite rightly, includes a section called community-led planning. Communities do need to be thinking longer term about what's going to be, what the future is going to be, and how those communities and groups going to be adapting. Or a lot of the recovery work that we're doing now could actually be superseded by new development. So we need to think, and somebody once said the obvious, adaptation is something that keeps going on and on and on. It's not just a one-off. You received, obviously, me and others,
we have
a report in February from Will, a charitable trust on community adaptation, it so happens, which fits right nicely with what we're talking about today. That report identified ways that council could encourage and support community-led planning. The 3-year plan, we suggest, provides a great opportunity to have a look at some of those practices, some of those suggestions, and try them out. That's why we're putting our hands up as a group to help explore better ways of doing community-led adaptation planning, hopefully in conjunction with the council, and learning some lessons that other communities and other seniors groups could learn from. I can tell you right now, from again looking at the literature and about publications for academia and gerontology sections of Auckland University, there's almost nothing going on right now about community stakeholders and impact of climate change. Unfortunately, good news and bad news, bad news, still some fixing, but when it comes to community, the section on community-led planning, as the section reads now, and again, all we're doing is looking at the plan that came out and that you gave us. It's not clear whether it's just, it's not clear whether it's just a convenient label that covers up an ongoing program of a township upgrade and perhaps the regional coordination center's budget for the year, or whether in fact council actually is signaling that plans to work with communities and groups like ours to undertake adaptation planning. In other words, open it up a bit. Let me put it this way. Do you really think we need to spend the next 3 years continuing to ask communities about what their recovery priorities are? If you read page 29, that's what it says this is for. But if you're going to be honest with people and pick up the widow, then, and we would encourage you to do that, then we've got suggestions which are listed before you, and 5 of them. One is that we think it would be a good idea to rethink the types of communities that you intend actively seeking to engage with. Yes, urban communities, but also rural localities, suburbs, iwi, groups like ours, lots of groups. At the moment, if you read the plan, anything other than rural townships is treated pretty much as an afterthought. So there's a couple of throwaway lines in there I thought we also work with, fill in the blank. Secondly, suggest that scope and purpose of community-led planning be broadened from simply identifying cyclone recovery priorities and township upgrades, which are already in the pipeline, to developing, providing opportunities for other communities to get on with developing their own ongoing long-term plans. I know of at least 2 catchments who are thinking about this. We're certainly thinking about this. Broaden the scope of what, and be specific about what you're going to do. Thirdly, spell out the main ways that there's a lot of language about working with, working alongside, working with. It'd be great if actually it said, and we're going to do this in specific ways. For example, we're going to provide information access. We're going to provide advice. We're going to help with capacity building. We're going to provide access to funding, that sort of thing. It would be very helpful. Right now, it's not clear when it says community-led planning what council's actually going to do. So it'd be great to spell those things out. Fourthly, obviously, it would be great if you could revisit that rationale. I'm not sure I could find it in there actually, about why we're only working with rural communities, other than the fact that's what we've been doing for 18 months. And fifthly, review the funding. Now I'm talking not about the whole 6.5 or whatever, 6.4 million for this whole area. I'm talking about the 700,000 a year, which comes out to 2.1 million over 3 years, I think. That's again called working with townships. And by my maths in the thing, it talks about 6 townships. I know there's a map in there that lists 13, it shows 13, but it specifies in the township upgrade plan that there's going to be 2 next year, 2 following, and they're actually listed. That's cool. So it looks like $700,000 a year, not for the upgrades. The upgrade money is already there. It's the 1.4 million from central government plus ratepayer funding. That's already locked in. But it's that additional 700,000 a year we're saying, community-led? All right. Well, then our suggestion is that why not take a portion of that? We were a bit ambitious, said what about 20%? 150,000, and put it into a contestable fund where communities who got to the starting line and could, show that they had a good plan for proceeding could bid for some funding and allow them to, with some oversight, get on with and do some testing of, community-led planning. So those are our suggestions. I see the big red clock, so we would simply summarize by saying, please hope to grasp the opportunity that's presented by this. Thank you.
Barry, Nona, Gav?
I was wondering if there are questions, just looking at the frowns. But yeah, we do want to help. I'm just so impressed by Tash Koya talking about mokopuna goals and mokopuna outcomes. Well, we're concerned about that. Plus, we've got the kaumatua wisdom to help. And it's just it's a question of helping and using the communities.
I think I'd like to hear questions. What we just said.
What would the funding be used for?
Well, basically, a little bit like what was already used before, after the cyclone, on recovery planning, where every community could bid for a certain amount of money, and then they could do some recovery planning. I know several communities did that. Probably the same sort of process, where we have groups, organizations, suburbs, to put forward a proposal with a research plan or a planning plan of action. And we'd have to set up some kind of mechanism to adjudicate and make assessments of it. That's the way it would work, and monitor their progress. I think every community needs to set a clear goal and a clear set of plans, but they also need to have some objectives that they would report on, whether they got there or not.
I just want to say a lot of us older ones were in the middle of everything because we were there to be able to help. And I just want to say that some of us don't have long on this earth, and some of us have made a terrible mark on it. And we know that, and we haven't done as well as we should have. And we want to do something for our families. I know, I hope I've got another 20 years and I'll be well over 100, so that'll be great. You can give me a party. But we want to do something for our children and our great-grandchildren and our great-great-grandchildren. We want to leave something, perhaps that others haven't left before. And so there is a humongous amount of people that are retired in this community that have got such knowledge and skills. And there's one thing about the older person is we can go back and use what isn't being used. Okay, have your digital, but I'll tell you what, we can use other things as well to plan, to make this community a far more better community in front of what we have coming. So we want to help. We want some of your money, of course we do, we wouldn't be here. But we want to help, and we can get money too. And I'll tell you what, Terence has made not only regionally but national people really interested in what we're doing. So and that's important. We're not just a little wee bit here saying we can do this. We have got strings outside that perhaps you haven't even got. So listen to us, let us in, let us help you.
Thanks a lot.
And by the way, thanks for the footpaths. Yeah. Oh gosh, they're being done. Oh wow, wow.
Oh, that's awesome. I thank you so much for your time and also the submission. Thank you. No worries. Okay, Heather, it is 2:30, so hopefully Jenny will come online for our last submission of the day. She's not here yet.
Yeah, I know.
Would you like a 5-minute break?
Please.
And Colin, I can't reach you there, but...
Kia ora, Jenny. Welcome to Council today. You are our lucky last. We have had listened to varied submissions from 9 o'clock this morning, and it is lovely for us that you are able to join us and round us off for today, and we'll be doing the same thing tomorrow. But without further ado, I am going to hand over to you, and you have roughly 5 minutes to talk to us. Submissions are taken as read, but please guide us through some highlights that you want to put on your written submission.
Kia ora tātou, and thank you for fitting me in last and for this opportunity to highlight some of the key themes in the notes I submitted. I'm coming to you coming out of a conference I'm at in Auckland actually. Ko waio, for those councillors who don't know me, I, like you all, loved Tairawhiti, very passionate about the special character of our communities and our environment and our connectedness. I achieved my subconscious dream to be living fully here 20 years ago after toing and froing for my lifetime to visit family and friends and spend as much time as I could here. Now in my 7th decade, I am principally making pro bono voluntary contributions as a trustee to local trusts with ecological and arts and heritage projects active in coast care restoration and other kaitiaki projects in our neighbourhood. And drawing on my 5.5 decades of working life nationally and internationally across social and community work, health, especially primary care, and population health and Māori and rural health, and also adult, tertiary and community education. I live at Wainui Beach and got connected in pretty fast because of the issues we were committed to as a community to actually look after our place and its specialness. What I'm going to do is just highlight 3 key things in my notes and try and conclude with pulling through the underlying theme, which actually we in the community conversation that Josh led and hosted at Wainui are very similar to the themes we discussed there. First of all, I'll start with just a few words about the slash and woody debris. As I said in my submission, I actually am not happy with either options that were posed to us in the online survey and would propose a third option. And I see, and I haven't had time to look at other people's submissions much, but I had a quick look last night. I see I'm not alone in this. As many of us in the community, hundreds of us, submitted to what became the Outrage to Optimism Ministerial Inquiry Report. I and a lot of my neighbours feel very, very strongly that we as ratepayers should not be covering the shortfall of the cleanup of the mess on our beaches and our rivers and valleys and on our hills. That really, as that Outrage to Optimism report said, in one of its many recommendations, was that the cost of that cleanup and also the cost of ensuring it does not happen ever again should be shared equitably, not equally, equitably amongst government and forestry companies and the council, where the council's culpable in the process. Now, a lot of people right from the 1990s were warning that this is what the wall of wood that we were told was coming actually meant. And scientists were saying that very strongly. So I'm very unhappy about the proposal that a lot of our rates be put up and be used to cover all those costs. I think forestry companies should be pulled off their harvesting and be putting their teams at their own cost into cleaning that up. And the other comment I'll make, and I'll come back to this later, is that we at Wainui have already demonstrated that we are more than ready, the young and strong in our neighbourhood, to roll up our sleeves and get out there and clear our streams and clear the mess off the beach before it does any more damage. And in fact, a group of guys did that and got publicity recently. Whilst council was happy for us to do that, they couldn't provide us with a disposal spot. So the guys had to take them away in their utes and trailers and dump it on someone's private property. That's a message I'll come back to. I think there's huge potential for council and communities to co-work, pre-plan, plan, and co-implement ways to deal with issues and crises like this. And in my experience, there's heaps and heaps of people in the community are happy to roll up their sleeves, save ratepayers money from paying contractors who actually never get around to coming and doing the work we can do in a morning, a couple of weekends. If we're helped and resourced just a little bit to do that. So those are the 2 key messages I want to say about this, and I've added some other details in my notes submitted online. I also wanted to just underline two things around the waters and land drainage area. First, around city water supply. I think we're more than past the time where we could collectively, as a community across the district and the city people, but I'm not a city person, people could get together with you and talk about this, but to actually take a fresh look at what sustainable, resilient, safe water supply means in this day and age, and with climate change rapidly approaching us or here. A no-brainer for years has been that all reticulated properties be supported, helped and guided to install rainwater collection tanks. Then the bigger the better. And I've explained why and all the positive outcomes of that. Now, there are many, many cities in New Zealand, as well as around the world, that are doing that, including big apartment blocks. So it would have so many benefits. And in this day and age, collecting your own rainwater and using it, and at least having enough storage for a month or more, or months or your whole year, would not only mean people are resilient and using the backup pipework if it's required as top-ups. It would also decrease hugely the runoff in big storm events and slow it down, and so on and so on. And on that note, I do not think it's fair that those of us who are privileged enough to have our own rainwater collection systems and septic tank systems, and therefore more resilient, especially in those sorts of moments, but all through the year, that we shouldn't be expected to be contributing huge rates to the city's constant pipework dilemmas. And I know I'm not alone in saying that. There's a lot of us in rural areas that think the same. And again, I think a really genuine collaborative co-planning with people on the ground in communities across could come up with some amazing solutions. And maybe Trust Tairāwhiti would come to the party to help resource some of that innovation. On the land drainage, my only comment there, just to add, I wanted to underline, was that I think the catchment planning process, some of which communities got underway on their own, like the big Waimata catchment project, but others that GDC has initiated and brought community people into. I think there are huge lessons in that again, and I'm involved in the Waimata Pakaere catchment plan project this year. There's big potential for neighbourhood and community planning across catchments where we're linked up from mountain to sea to build on that model, to develop collaborative ways to restore and protect and look after our environment and our communities. And that brings me to the other area that I just wanted to talk to for a couple of minutes was I think it's fantastic how the council has gradually built up since about 2010, 11, 12, starting to do township rural community planning with communities. And I think that's an area that needs to be grown. And within that, we at Wainui are feeling increasingly like the ball's been dropped with us. Way back in 2008 and 9, in various GDC documents, there were headings like to form partnerships and collaboration with Wainui Okutu Makarori. I read from one report in recognising consistent message from Wainui, Okutu and Makarori people that these communities want to be models for sustainable, self-sufficient futures with on-site water systems, careful use and conservation of water, and having a low environmental footprint. That given this community commitment that's been expressed to council, council is prepared to be an active partner, I'm quoting from reports, active partner in helping to define and achieve the community's sustainability and eco-friendly vision. And that the council would proceed to work with the communities to achieve ecological preservation and promotion enhancement of the special character of these Wainui, Okutu and Makarori communities. And then on the back of 2009 development strategy, a project called the Wainui Okutu project was started. And the aim of that project, which it was in that 2009 document, that the council would start to invest staff time and a little bit of money, hardly any money was required, into the Wainui starting from 2011-12. And that did start through the Community Development Committee to develop a plan and a course of action for progressing Wainui Okutu, and a Wainui Okutu community plan involving all stakeholders. Now, what we did do, and I'm sorry I might be labouring this for one or two councillors have been around since we were around then, but most of you weren't there, and most of the staff weren't, that are current staff aren't aware of all this. In 2012-13, we did a public engagement plan. We started having community planning workshops and meetings. The community designed and led a future Wainui Okutu survey of all residents and stakeholders that have been identified in the public engagement plan. And 92.4% of the respondents wanted to participate, were very enthusiastic to participate in developing a Wainui Okutu community vision and plan. And the highest priorities people gave for that vision and plan was to protect the special character, i.e. the beach, the rural country lifestyle, and the connectedness of the community, to care for the beach dunes and the surf breaks, to maintain the cleanliness of the beach and the community, and look after it and the streams, to improve the safety and diversity of walking and cycling tracks and paths, improve the playgrounds, and ensure there was a community voice on all issues affecting us. And then the project fell away. And I think it's fantastic that other communities outside the city are progressing their plans and action plans and making improvements in their outdoor spaces and environments. And Wainui is we're chipping away at doing things on our own with a little support from council on the dunes work. But other than that, we are, in a sense, doing it ourselves. And I think there's room for council to pick up that thread of collaboration with us and revitalise Wainui, which we're often very ashamed, and get out there and do the weeding of the paths and the streets. There's weeds growing in the traffic island as you come into Wainui South, often, etc. So, and to clean up our beach, our streams, etc. And improve our playgrounds. It needn't cost a lot of ratepayers' money.
Thank you, Jenny. I'm just going to ask you to wrap us up.
Yeah, I am now. Yeah.
Thank you.
So to conclude, I mean, I guess theme, which a lot of us talk about with each other, is that we really do want to work with council and tap in our collective resources and take collective responsibility. We have a lot of skilled labour, happy to do free work, and to actually implement the community, the Wainui Beach and Leisner Reserve management plan. There's a lot of actions there that still haven't been implemented. Implement the Wainui Beach strategy, implement the National Coastal Policy Statement, and pick up the threads of our community vision and plan. And in doing so, we would save council laws and staff a lot of time. And what we would want to do is actually help staff to work across silos and to meet with us together from various departments about the same issue. At the moment, both community members and staff are toing and froing with one-on-one meetings with the reserves people, the waters people, the land drainage people, the streams people, the catchment planning people, etc. And this huge opportunity to bring all that together into one space. So, I would welcome questions and comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny, for taking the time to catch up with us today. Thank you for a well thought through submission you have made, not only a written submission, but also your verbal submission. Much appreciated. Are there any questions from the board? No, not at this stage. Hey, Jenny, thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to catching up with you again.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Jenny. Councillors, so at this stage, it is 3 o'clock. I adjourn our council meeting until 9 o'clock tomorrow morning.